Chapter 6:15. Li Donghua patted Li Meiyu on the shoulder and said, "I'm sorry." After that, he stood up from the coffin and walked to Qin Haodong. He bowed deeply and said gratefully, "Young man, thank you for saving my life and our family." Although his soul had been taken into the soul-controlling talisman by Master Jia, he could still hear everything that had happened in the morning hall. He knew that he would have been killed by these people if it weren't for Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Old master, it's nothing. You'd better deal with your family affairs first." "Well, please wait a moment. I'll deal with these beasts first and then I'll thank you." Li Donghua turned around and looked directly at Li Jianye and Li Yueying. Seeing his angry eyes, Li Jianye and Li Yueying both felt guilty and scared. They took several steps back. Li Jianye forced himself to calm down and said with an embarrassed smile, "Brother, you're really lucky. It's really worth congratulating you for coming back to life. You didn't kill me, this old man, and you didn't steal my property. Do you feel very regretful?" Li Donghua pointed at their noses and scolded, "You too are beasts. You're worse than pigs and dogs. When my father passed away, you fought with me for my father's assets. I didn't say anything, I gave all the assets to you and came to Hong Kong alone. I built up my family business with my own blade and a gun. Later, you remembered that I was your brother when you saw that I was rich. You came here and begged me. In the end, I was soft-hearted and let you enter the Li family and let you control the family business. But I didn't expect you to kill my old man, bully my granddaughter in front of my dead body, burn my real will, forge a fake will, and rob the family business that I worked so hard to build. What else do you have to say?" Li Jianye and Li Yueying's faces turned pale and they couldn't say a word. Li Donghua was still angry, so he turned to look at Master Jia. "Jia, I've been friends with you for 30 years, but in the end, you colluded with that bastard Li Jianye to kill me. You used our familiarity to imitate my handwriting and forged my will. If you do this, how can you call yourself a grandmaster? How can you live up to the trust I've placed in you all these years?" Master Jia was much calmer than Li Jianye. He said, "My old friend, it's not that I want to hurt you, but you're doomed. Since you've already gone to the Nirvana world, why do you still want to come back and suffer in the mortal world? Bullshit. Get out of here. From today onwards, I, Li Donghua, will cut all ties with you. I have nothing to do with you anymore." After scolding Master Jia, Master Li turned around and said to Li Jianye and Li Yueying, "And you too, I won't punish you for what you did to me. But from today onwards, I have nothing to do with you. Don't even think about getting a penny from the Li family. Get out of here." At this time, Li Jianye had already recovered from the shock and said, "Brother, it's our fault this time. Please give us another chance." Li Yueying also said, "Yes, brother, we were just confused for a moment. We won't dare to do it again. We don't want to leave you like this." Both of them knew very well that they were the elites of the upper class of Hong Kong because of the Li family. Once they were kicked out of the Li family, they would be nothing and would completely lose their current life of luxury. "You don't want to leave me? I think you don't want to give up the property of the Li family." Li Donghua sneered and said, "Give you another chance. Are you going to do it again if you can't kill me once? From now on, get out of the Li family immediately, or I'll send you to the police station." Qin Haodong shook his head slightly. It seemed that old Master Li still couldn't make up his mind. He was still soft-hearted to such people. Obviously, they were two wolves. If they couldn't be decisive, they would be harmed. "Brother, since you're so ruthless, don't blame us." Li Jianye cried, "Although the hundreds of millions of yuan in your family was won by you, it doesn't belong to you alone. It belongs to the whole Li family. Your will only gave me and Yueying 10% of the shares. Why? We're your biological younger brothers and sisters. You left so much money to a woman. When she gets married, the money of our Li family will be taken advantage of by someone else. So I'm doing this to protect the property of the Li family. What's wrong with me? Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. He didn't expect that this guy could be so shameless. How thick-skinned was he? You. Li Donghua trembled with anger. I worked so hard to earn the money. If I don't give it to my granddaughter, should I give it to you, a wolf? Li Jianye sneered and said, now you have to give it to me if you don't want to. It's not up to you. Originally, I wanted to be friendly and not make things difficult. You forced me to do this. Then he shouted to the outside of the morning hall, guards. After that, more than a dozen bodyguards rushed in. He drove out all the family members loyal to Li Donghua. These were his trusted subordinates. Li Jianye's confidence was immediately boosted when he saw the armed bodyguards. He said to Li Donghua proudly, brother, you've already died once. Why do you want to come back to life again? I have to trouble myself again. But this is good. You won't be lonely on the road. I'll let them accompany you. After that, he waved to the bodyguards behind him and said, shoot and kill these people. Each of them will be rewarded 10 million yuan. A fierce look flashed across Li Yueying's face. She stared at Qin Haodong and the others and shouted, we wanted to be friendly and admit the will, but you insisted on doing this. Now, go to hell. The two of them shouted fiercely, but they found that the bodyguards did not move at all after waiting for a long time. Li Jianye waited for a long time and saw that his men still did not shoot. He turned around and said angrily, what the hell are you doing? Didn't you hear my order? Kill them and get 10 million yuan each. However, those people were still standing there without any reaction. Li Jianye was about to shout again, but Master Jia said, stop shouting. They're all dead. What? Dead? How could he have died without any reason? Li Jianye and Li Yueying were shocked. At this time, they saw the bodyguards all fall to the ground with a shiny silver needle between their eyebrows. Master Jia looked at Qin Haodong and said coldly, good job, young man. Qin Haodong smiled faintly and said, it's just a small trick. It's nothing. These people were indeed killed by Qin Haodong. Li Donghua and Li Meiyu in the morning hall did not know martial arts at all. How could they give these people a chance to shoot? Li Donghua was completely mad. He had already let them go, but these two guys still wanted to kill him and his granddaughter. They were really stubborn. Bastards, you two bastards, just wait to go to jail. A flash of panic flashed through Li Jianye's eyes. His bodyguards were all dead and Master Jia had become his last hope. He rushed over and shouted, Master Jia, kill these people as soon as possible. Li Yueying also shouted, yes, none of us can live if we don't kill them. Master Jia said, I can kill them, but we have to change the conditions we agreed on before. 10% of the Li family's shares are far from enough. You have to give me at least 30%. Li Jianye hesitated for a while and agreed. If Master Jia killed Li Donghua and the others, he could still get the Li family's property. Although it was a little less, it was much better than spending the rest of his life in jail. Li Yueying nodded hurriedly, yes, we will. Li Donghua said angrily, the Li family's property is mine. None of you can make the decision. Master Jia smiled and said with a greedy face, it's yours now, but it won't be yours soon. Then he turned to look at Qin Haodong and said, boy, if I'm not mistaken, you're a powerful warrior, aren't you? You played with the flying needles beautifully, but you're nothing in front of me, Master Jia. Qin Haodong said, well, I'd like to see what you can do to deserve the title of a master. In fact, Master Jia was not much stronger than an ant in front of him. If he used the Xian Yuan sword now, he could immediately kill Master Jia. However, Hong Kong was different from Wuxia. Feng Shui magic was very popular here, which was why people like Master Jia were born. He wanted to see what level the Feng Shui magic of Hong Kong was and how powerful it was. Li Meiyu didn't know what he was thinking. She said nervously, Haodong, don't be careless. This old guy is very powerful. Li Donghua also said seriously, yes, young man. This old guy is not a good person, but his magic is really powerful. You must be careful. He had seen Master Jia defeat a feng shui master in Southeast Asia. He was shocked by Master Jia's magic at that time. That was why he didn't dare to hold Master Jia responsible and just drove him away. In contrast, Li Jianye and Li Yueying both looked relaxed. As long as Master Jia was willing to help them, they believed that there was no problem that couldn't be solved. The only one who was calm was Nailan Wushuang. She trusted Qin Haodong more than herself. Qin Haodong said, don't worry. He's just a magician. He's just a swindler. It's not a big deal. Master Jia was furious when he saw that Qin Haodong looked down on him and compared him to those trickster magicians. He said, boy, you're courting death. I'll show you my magic today. He reached into his pocket and took out a small gourd that was shiny with oil. Boy, didn't you just use flying needles? Now I'll show you my sword-nourishing gourd. Then he opened the lid of the gourd. A silver light flashed and shot toward Qin Haodong's eyebrows like a meteor. Chapter 6:16. Watch out, young man. Li Donghua's expression changed drastically when he saw Master Jia taking out the sword-nourishing gourd. The famous feng shui master in Southeast Asia had been killed by this small gourd. The flying sword in this small gourd was much more powerful than a bullet. It was so fast that it could kill people without leaving a trace. Master Jia looked proud after releasing the flying sword. In his eyes, Qin Haodong was already a dead man. This young man is so stupid. He is a warrior, but he didn't seize the chance to get close to me. Instead, he just stood there and waited for me to use my supernatural power. Isn't he courting death? Qin Haodong stood there calmly with a smile on his face. He had seen the flying sword clearly the moment it was shot out. It was not a flying sword at all, but a dagger condensed by ghosts. It was nourished in the gourd and could be used to kill people without leaving a trace when needed. This kind of thing might be useful to others, but it was not worth mentioning in front of him. He raised his right hand and a golden light shot out, directly drowning Master Jia's flying sword. The Xianyuan sword was a great magic weapon used by the Yellow Emperor, so it was not comparable to a flying dagger condensed by ghosts. It was crushed into pieces in the blink of an eye and even the gourd in Master Jia's hand exploded into powder. How dare you destroy my magic weapon? Master Jia was shocked. The sword-nourishing gourd was given to him by his master. He had used it several times and it worked every time. He didn't expect that he would not only fail to kill Qin Haodong, but also destroy his magic weapon. However, he didn't even know what Qin Haodong had done. You have the cheek to call this broken thing a magic treasure? Qin Haodong put away the Xianyuan sword and said disdainfully, do you have any good skills? Show me. Go to hell, boy. How dare you destroy my magic weapon? I'll kill you with 100 ghosts devouring your heart. Master Jia roared angrily. His face was so ferocious that he looked more like a ferocious ghost. He didn't look like a master anymore. He reached into his robe and took out a small black bottle. He opened the bottle cap, and a wisp of black smoke came out. A gust of chilly wind blew, and the temperature of the entire morning hall seemed to drop in an instant. The black smoke seemed to contain countless malicious spirits, and they let out soul-chilling wails. Finally, these malicious spirits condensed into a huge ghost head, which opened its bloody mouth and looked incomparably fierce. This was a morning hall to begin with, and the atmosphere was cold and gloomy. With the sudden appearance of a ghost head, it instantly became incomparably sinister. Li Meiyu had never seen such a scene. She trembled with fear and held Nailan Wushuang's arm. It was the first time for Li Jianye and Li Yueying to see Master Jia use such a trick. Although they were on the same side, they were still frightened. Qin Haodong's face also darkened, and he shouted, "You call yourself a master, but you actually used such insidious means." This ghost head contained the souls of at least a few hundred people. These were all souls that he had forcibly captured and imprisoned in this bottle, never to be reincarnated. This was definitely not done by a master, but by an evil cultivator. Master Jia didn't dare to show this evil magic weapon to others. Today, he was forced by Qin Haodong to take out the evil ghost bottle. "Boy, if you have anything to say it to the King of Hell." Master Jia cast an incantation, pointed at Qin Haodong, and shouted, "Eat it." The huge ghost head let out a sharp howl, opened its huge mouth, and rushed to Qin Haodong. The ghost head grew bigger and bigger. When it rushed to Qin Haodong, it was almost the size of the whole room, and its mouth was big enough to swallow an adult. The most terrible thing was that there seemed to be a malicious spirit in every part of the ghost head. They were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, and they were howling miserably. Qin Haodong shook his head slightly, raised his hand, and the yin-yang mirror appeared in his palm. He shouted, "Take it." After the yin-yang mirror appeared, the ghost head let out an unwilling howl, and then it turned into a wisp of black smoke and was taken into the yin-yang mirror. This, seeing that his evil ghost bottle was broken, Master Jia was shocked at first, and then a greedy look appeared in his eyes. Qin Haodong had used the yin-yang mirror to break his magic once before, but he didn't see what it was at that time. Now that he saw the true face of the yin-yang mirror, he immediately showed a greedy look. After so many years of cultivation, he could certainly see that the yin-yang mirror was not an ordinary thing, and it was probably a legendary magic weapon. He couldn't wait to grab it and put it in his pocket. He wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth and said, "Boy, give this mirror to me and we'll forget about what happened in the past. I won't interfere in the affairs of the Li family anymore. I'll let you be the son-in-law of the Li family and inherit hundreds of millions of yuan. What do you think?" Li Jianye and Li Yueying's expressions suddenly changed. If Master Jia didn't care about this matter, they would be completely useless. Qin Haodong raised his hand and put away the yin-yang mirror. He glanced at Master Jia and said disdainfully, "You're so ugly, but you're dreaming. This is my treasure. How can I give it to you?" Master Jia said angrily, "Don't think that you're great just because you have a magic weapon. If you annoy me, I can still kill you." Qin Haodong said, "Show me what you can do, but I'm running out of patience. Now you can either get out of here or die here. Boy, you're courting death." Master Jia shouted with a ferocious face and took out a golden talisman from his arms. The talisman was not very big. It was about 2 fingers wide and the length of a palm. It was golden all over and was printed with strange flame patterns. Master Jia looked solemn. This talisman was a life-saving magic weapon given to him by his teacher, Mei Zhanlong, who was known as the best magic practitioner in Hong Kong. It was called the Roaring Flame Soul Refining Talisman. Ha! He twisted his index fingers and made an incantation. The Roaring Flame Soul Refining Talisman flew into the air and burned by itself. After the talisman was burned out, only a flame the size of a fingernail was left. This flame was extremely strange. It was shining with a green light and the outside world could not feel any temperature from it. "Go to hell." Master Jia raised his hand and the green flame shot straight at Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong frowned. This was an extremely vicious magic. The green flame did not seem to be very powerful, but it could directly penetrate one's mud pill palace and burn one's divine senses. If it was any other martial artist, not only would he be killed, but his soul would also be burned into nothingness and he would never be able to reincarnate. Since you use such a vicious method, I'll let you have a taste of your own medicine. Thinking of this, he stretched out his hand and the yin-yang mirror appeared in his palm again. He threw it at the green flame, but this time he used the yang side of the mirror. The green flame arrived in the blink of an eye and hit the yin-yang mirror. An unexpected scene happened. The green flame seemed to be rebounded and flew back at a faster speed, rushing to Master Jia's mud pill palace. Master Jia had released the roaring flame soul-refining talisman and was waiting to see Qin Haodong's soul burn into nothingness. To his surprise, the green flame rushed to him. No, although he knew how powerful it was too late for him to dodge it. The green flame flashed through the mud pill palace on his forehead and disappeared. Master Jia stood still as if he had been hit by the body-fixing spell. After pausing for a while, he fell to the ground on his back. His 3 souls and 7 spirits had been burned to ashes. There was nothing left in this world except his body. Master Jia! Master Jia! Li Jianye pushed Master Jia a few times, only to find that he was completely dead. Brother, I was wrong. Please let me go this time. It's all his fault. Otherwise, I wouldn't have killed you. As soon as Master Jia died, he lost his last support and knelt down in front of Li Donghua. Behind him, Li Donghai also knelt down. Yes, brother. We're all a family. We were just fooled by the bad guy. Please let us go this time. Li Yueying and Wu Zixiong also knelt down. They could only hope that Li Donghua would be merciful and let them go. Li Donghua ignored them. He turned to Li Meiyu and said, "Girl, what do you think we should do with these people?" Li Meiyu said, "Grandpa, please don't hate me. These people are ungrateful. You've given them so many benefits over the years, but they're not grateful at all. They don't want to repay you at all. On the contrary, they're always thinking about taking away your property. If Haodong hadn't saved us this time, we wouldn't even know how we died. They didn't consider that we're a family and they wouldn't give us any chance to live." Li Donghua nodded and said, "Then what do you want to do?" Li Meiyu said, "Call the police. They bribed the bodyguards and tried to murder us. They've taken a lot of money from the Li family over the years. We need to thoroughly investigate the accounts they're in charge of and make them stay in prison for the rest of their lives." Li Jianye and Li Yueying's faces turned green after hearing Li Meiyu's words. No matter whether they could be convicted of murder or not, the money they had taken away over the years was enough to sentence them to life in prison. Li Jianye cried, "Little girl, how can you be so cruel? I'm your second grandpa. You can't do this to me." However, Li Yueying played the emotional card and said pitifully, "Meiyu, I'm your grandaunt. I loved you the most when you were a child. Please be merciful and don't send us to prison. We can give up the inheritance right and leave the Li family." Li Meiyu glanced at her and said coldly, "Since the moment you attacked Grandpa, we've lost all family ties. Besides, the Li family's inheritance has nothing to do with you at all. There's no such thing as giving up or not." Then she took out her mobile phone and called the police. Chapter 617. Li Donghua nodded and said with satisfaction, "Girl, you're better than me. If I had been as decisive as you, I wouldn't have been in trouble today. Seeing you like this, I can hand over the Li's group to you without any worries." Seeing that Li Meiyu really called the police, Li Jianye and the others were completely panicked. They got up from the ground and ran away, but they were all kicked to the ground by Qin Haodong before they could run a few steps. The Li's group was one of the largest consortiums in Hong Kong. The Li family called the police without any delay. Soon, more than a dozen policemen arrived. Old Master Li explained the situation. He said that Li Jianye and the others had bribed the bodyguards of their family and intended to kill him and Li Meiyu. As for Master Jia, in order to avoid some trouble, he directly said that he had died of a sudden illness. Anyway, there were no scars on Master Jia's body, so it was no different from a normal death. As for the dozen bodyguards, it was self-defense and the police would not hold them responsible. The Li family still had some power in Hong Kong. Soon, Li Jianye and the others were all taken away by the police. Li Meiyu called Uncle Cheng and asked him to dispose of all the bodyguards' bodies. As for Master Jia, he was directly sent back to his master, Mei Zhanlong. After dealing with these things, Li Dongwu directly invited Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang to the living room and asked his family to prepare a sumptuous meal. They chatted while eating. He picked up his glass and said to Qin Haodong respectfully, "Brother medical sage, Kuai recommended you to me some time ago. To be honest, I didn't believe it at first. Today, I finally see what a young talent is like. You're really young and promising. Thank you for saving the two of us and our Li family. Let me toast you with this cup of wine." Then he picked up his glass and drank it up. Li Meiyu said angrily, "Grandpa, I thought that damn Master Jia was a genius at first. It turned out that he sent me to Wuxia to kill you. He colluded with Li Jianye and the others to cause the bloody disaster. It's all my fault. I've been blind all these years." Li Dongwu sighed when he said that. Then, a worried look flashed across his face. He said to Qin Haodong, "Medical sage, to tell you the truth, may our Li family have implicated you this time?" Qin Haodong didn't care and said leisurely, "Are you talking about Master Jia's master? Mei Zhanlong, who is known as the best in the world of spells in Hong Kong?" Li Dongwu said, "Yes, I'm worried about him. He deserves his reputation. Mei Zhanlong is a man with real ability. Master Jia's real name was Zhao Yang, and he was Mei Zhanlong's favorite disciple. Now that he's dead, we can say that it was a normal death to the police, but we definitely can't hide it from Mei Zhanlong. I'm afraid that he will harm brother medical sage. What do you think about this? After this meal, you should go back to Wuxia. Although Mei Zhanlong is arrogant, he is only limited to Hong Kong. I don't think he dares to go to Wuxia." Qin Haodong said, "Don't worry, master. It's just Mei Zhanlong. I don't care about him." He really didn't think much of Mei Zhanlong, who was the best in spells in Hong Kong. Since he could teach such an evil disciple, his master must be no better. It would be fine if Mei Zhanlong didn't make trouble for him, but if he really took the initiative to come to him, he wouldn't mind getting rid of him for the sake of the people. Moreover, he couldn't leave. He was not afraid of Mei Zhanlong, but the Li family couldn't deal with him. If he left, Mei Zhanlong would vent his anger on the Li family. Li Dongwu was a sophisticated man, so he naturally understood what Qin Haodong was thinking. Although he was moved, he still tried to persuade him, "Brother medical sage, you provoked Mei Zhanlong to save me this time. Of course, the Li family should take responsibility for this matter. And don't underestimate Mei Zhanlong. I know him very well. He won the title of the most powerful man in Hong Kong by stepping on countless people's heads. In the past, he also killed countless people. He is definitely not a soft-hearted person. What's more, he has been doing very well in Hong Kong over the years and has countless believers and supporters. As long as he waves his hand, countless people will immediately stand up to fight against you. So you'd better hide and don't be impulsive." Qin Haodong believed what Li Dongwu said. Master Jia, a disciple of his, was so famous in Hong Kong, let alone Mei Zhanlong himself. However, these things could not affect his firm Taoist heart. If he was scared away by Mei Zhanlong's name, he would not be able to transcend the mortal world and transcend the heavenly tribulation in the future. "Old master, I know what you're saying. Although I'm helping you, I'm still the one who killed him. I've decided to stay in Hong Kong for 7 days. If Mei Zhanlong comes, I'll solve the problem together. If he comes to me after 7 days, you can tell him my contact information. At that time, he can go to Wuxia or other places to meet me. I'll accept all his requests." Seeing that Qin Haodong's tone was firm and confident, Li Dongwu shook his head and said, "In addition to Mei Zhanlong, there's another problem. That is Master Song Gang, Sarah Banta's master. Song Gang is more famous in Thailand than Mei Zhanlong in Hong Kong. Although they wear monk robes and call themselves masters, they actually practice tame head, which is extremely strange and cruel. Now that Sarah Banta has died here, Song Gang will definitely blame it on you. With his vengeful character, he will definitely come to make trouble for you. Qin Haodong nodded and said, I hope he can come within 7 days. It's best to solve the problem together. Li Dongguo was moved. If Qin Haodong really left, Mei Zhanlong might give the Li family a chance to defend themselves, but Song Gang would never do that. It was very likely that he would use Strange Tame Head to retaliate against the Li family. Brother Medical Sage, thank you so much. You are a great benefactor of our Li clan, and also our great benefactor. Qin Haodong said, You're welcome, sir. It's nothing. Besides, I'm your bodyguard now. Since I've signed a contract with you, I naturally have the responsibility to protect Miss Li. Li Dongguo sighed sincerely and said, It's a blessing for our Li family to hire a bodyguard of your level. If it weren't for you, our Li family would be finished this time. Qin Haodong said, By the way, sir, I happen to want to talk to you about something. My contract with Mei Yu will end here. I still have a lot of things to do. I really can't be Mei Yu's personal bodyguard anymore. Hearing Qin Haodong's words, a flash of panic flashed across Li Mei Yu's face. Although she used to be jealous, Qin Haodong was still by her side after all. Without this contract, it would be difficult for her to see him again. Li Dongguo also said eagerly, Brother Medical Sage, why? Do you think the price is too low? It's indeed a little low with your ability, but we can talk about the money. Just name a number and our Li family will definitely satisfy you. Qin Haodong shook his head and said, Sir, it's really not about the money. I really have a lot of things to do. Li Dongguo said with a regretful face, I understand. With your talent, it's really unfair for you to only be a bodyguard. Qin Haodong said, Sir, I can also see that the security in your home is really not good. If you want, I can transfer some excellent bodyguards from Daddy Security Company for you. They can completely protect the safety of Miss Li. Li Dongguo said with a happy face, That's great. Thank you. It's really not easy to find a capable and loyal bodyguard now. He thought for a moment and said, Well, you can transfer 20 people to me first. If it's not enough, I'll call you later. Qin Haodong said, No problem. I'll make a call later. I think they'll arrive in Hong Kong tomorrow. That's great. With them, the safety of our Li family will be guaranteed. Li Dongguo waved his hand to Uncle Cheng next to him. Uncle Cheng immediately sent a check over. He pushed the check in front of Qin Haodong and said, Brother Medical Sage, you've helped our Li family so much this time. This is a little money to show my respect. Please accept it. Qin Haodong glanced at the check. It turned out to be a denomination of 1 billion yuan. It seemed that the old man was quite generous. However, Li Mei Yu was infatuated with him. Although he couldn't accept it, it was not appropriate for him to take her money. He said, Sir, Mei Yu and I are friends. It's my duty to help her. Don't take the money. Hearing that Qin Haodong regarded her as a friend and refused the check of 1 billion yuan for her, Li Mei Yu's heart warmed and the disappointment on her face lessened. Li Dongguo said, I'm too abrupt, but I'll feel guilty if I don't express my sincerity. How about this? Sir Owen will hold an auction in Hong Kong tonight. It happens to be held in an auction house under our Li family. Brother Medical Sage, go ahead and bid for whatever you like. It'll be a small gift from our Li family. Qin Haodong thought for a moment. It was not good to refuse him. Anyway, he and Nalan Wushuang had nothing to do these days. It would be good to go to the auction house. He said, Then let's do as the old man said. Let's go to the auction tonight. Li Mei Yu said, Grandpa, is Sir Owen going to hold an auction again? I want to go and have a look. Li Dongguo said, Mei Yu, you don't have to go. From today on, I'll officially retire. The entire Li family's property will be handed over to you. Besides, such a big thing has just happened. You have to take over the property of those 2 beasts. There are a lot of things to do. All right, Grandpa. Li Meiyu had matured a lot after this incident. Although she was quite disappointed, she did not say anything. Qin Haodong said, "Sir, do you know what good things will be at this auction?" Li Donghua said, "Dr. Owen's auction is extremely rare. I've inquired about it before. Most of the antiques at this auction are from Huaxiao. The most famous one is the snake head of the 12 zodiac bronze heads." Chapter 618. What? A snake head? Qin Haodong almost jumped up when he heard the news. He was looking for the bronze head to improve his cultivation. He was naturally excited when he heard the news about the snake head. Originally, he wanted to spend time at the auction, but now it seemed that he had to go. Li Donghua was slightly stunned. He didn't understand why Qin Haodong was so excited. As far as he knew, a bronze head was only sold for more than 10 million Hong Kong dollars, which couldn't be compared with the 1 billion yuan check on the table. He asked doubtfully, "Brother medical sage, what's the problem?" Qin Haodong also knew that he had lost his composure, so he quickly said, "I heard that the bronze head was stolen from Huaxiao. I've always wanted to find it and give it to the country. I accidentally heard the news about the snake head, so I was a little excited. Please excuse me, sir. I didn't expect you to be a patriotic person." Li Donghua said, "I also had the same idea when I first heard the news. I wanted to buy the snake head and give it to Huaxiao. Sir, you don't have to worry about it. Leave it to me." Qin Haodong wanted the upper-level spirit stones in the bronze head. As for the bronze head, he would definitely return it to Huaxiao later. Then he asked, "Sir, who is this Sir Owen?" Li Donghua said, "Sir Owen is a great man. He is from the Empire of the Unsetting Sun due to historical reasons. He has a large number of properties in Hong Kong and lives in Hong Kong for most of the year. In his words, he prefers the climate and cultural environment of Hong Kong to the Empire of the Unsetting Sun. The reason why people call him Sir is not out of respect, but because he is indeed a marquis appointed by the Empress of the Unsetting Sun. People often say that I am one of the top 10 richest people in Hong Kong. In fact, this kind of statistics is not scientific. If I compare myself with Sir Owen, his wealth is far greater than mine." However, he was a collector. He had exchanged all his money for all kinds of collections, whether they were from East Asia, Europe, or America. He had collected all kinds of antiques. No one knew how many collections he had in his warehouse. Someone once secretly calculated his assets, but the result was inestimable because the value of antiques rose too fast. For example, 40 years ago, someone bought 3 bronze heads for $4,500. Now, the price had increased by thousands of times. So everyone knows that Sir Owen is very rich, but we can't calculate his specific assets. Qin Haodong nodded and said, "Do you know how this bronze head fell into Sir Owen's hands?" Li Donghua said, "I don't know the details, but it said that Sir Owen's ancestor was an officer of the empire where the sun never sets. He once participated in the invasion of Huaxia more than 100 years ago and brought back a lot of treasures from Huaxia. His family also began to develop at that time. I've never heard of Sir Owen buying a snake head before. It seems that his ancestor must have brought it back from Huaxia." Qin Haodong's heart skipped a beat and he said, "That is to say, in addition to this snake head sculpture, Sir Owen may have other sculpted heads of the 12 zodiacs." Li Donghua said, "I'm not sure about this old man. In short, he only took out a snake head this time." Qin Haodong thought for a moment. It was already very good for a person to have a treasure like the bronze head sculpture of the 12 zodiacs. He should get this snake head sculpture first. After that, he asked Li Donghua about Sir Owen's situation in detail. Seeing that it was almost time, he said, "Sir, we've almost finished eating. I'll go to the auction now." For him now, nothing was more important than this snake head sculpture. Li Donghua said, "Well, I'll ask Uncle Cheng to send you there now." Qin Haodong said, "There's no need. Sir has a lot of things to do at home and he needs help. Just give me a car and we'll go there by ourselves. Li Donghua thought about it and agreed. His family was in a mess now and many things needed to be sorted out from scratch. He couldn't do without Uncle Cheng, so he said, well, I'll ask someone to arrange a car right away. Li Meiyu said, Haodong, I've told the person in charge of the auction and they've already prepared the bidding number plates for you. The funds have not been used yet. You can buy whatever you like at that time. You don't have to worry about the price. Qin Haodong felt that although it had only been half a day, this girl was much more mature than before, as if she had grown up all of a sudden. That's very kind of you. Qin Haodong patted Li Meiyu on the shoulder and said, if you need any help, just tell me. After that, he left the Li family's villa with Nalan Wushuang. Looking at their backs, a touch of loneliness flashed across Li Meiyu's face, and then she sighed softly. Little girl, have you fallen for him? Li Donghua stood behind Li Meiyu and saw his granddaughter's expression clearly. There was nothing to hide from her grandfather. Li Meiyu nodded and said softly, but he has too many girlfriends. Li Donghua said, it's impossible for any woman to monopolize a man like the medical sage. If you like him, you have to be prepared to accept other people's ideas. Li Meiyu said with a gloomy look, even if I can accept him, he doesn't like me. After all, his girlfriends are too excellent and can help him a lot, but I can't. Li Donghua said, my granddaughter is also excellent. Our Li family has hundreds of millions of yuan and is also a famous family in Hong Kong. You can show him your achievements, and then he will naturally see your excellence. I know, Grandpa. At this moment, Li Meiyu's eyes were full of fighting spirit. In a valley in Thailand, the sun was shining brightly, the vegetation was lush, and the scenery was beautiful. It was like a fairyland on earth. There was a magnificent temple on the hillside. The temple occupied a large area, and in the spacious courtyard sat an old monk. The monk looked to be in his 70s or 80s, wearing a red frock. He was not too tall, but he was very fat. He was more than 1.7 meters tall and weighed more than 100 kilograms. He was the most famous Buddhist Zen master in Thailand, Song Gang. In public, he was an eminent monk, but in private, he had a secret identity, the master of black magic. At this time, the temple door opened and two men in black came in carrying a sack. Zen master, the blood food you want is here. Song Gang opened his eyes and said, open the bag and then you can go out. Yes, Zen master. The two men answered and opened the sack. There was a young man in his 20s inside. What are you doing? Why did you catch me? The young man looked around and immediately saw Song Gang as if he had seen his savior. He stepped forward and cried, Master, please save me. Song Gang smiled kindly and said, young man, don't worry. I'll help you. After that, he waved his hand and the two men in black immediately left and closed the gate of the temple. Since the men in black had left, the young man breathed a sigh of relief and said, Master, where am I? How can I go back? Song Gang said, it's very simple. I'll send you away now. After that, his expression changed greatly. The kindness on his face disappeared, and his face was as ferocious as a ghost from hell. He shook his arms and let out an extremely unpleasant roar. Then a horrible scene happened. Countless red beetles crawled out of Song Gang's body. These insects were as big as a dollar coin, and the small ones were as small as sesame seeds. They were mixed together so densely that people could not help but feel creeped out. After releasing these insects, Song Gang's body suddenly lost more than half of its weight. He became as skinny as a match from more than 100 kilograms. He looked like a completely different person. After these red beetles crawled out, they immediately rushed to the young man like a gust of wind and completely covered him in the blink of an eye. Ah! The young man let out a heart-wrenching scream. He wanted to struggle, but he could not resist these beetles at all. After 2 or 3 minutes, these red beetles seemed to be much brighter and flew back to Song Gang's body like a tide. When the last beetle disappeared, Song Gang once again returned to his original appearance, and his whole body became fat. The young man had completely disappeared, not even leaving a piece of cloth on his body. It was as if he had never been here. Song Gang sat down cross-legged and murmured. He was actually reciting the Ksitigarbha Sutra for the young man to help him. After a while, the gate of the temple opened again and a middle-aged monk in his 40s or 50s rushed in. He was Song Gang's eldest disciple, Bonachai. After entering the temple, Bonachai said in a low voice, "Master, something happened to junior brother." Song Gang stopped chanting and slowly opened his eyes. "What's going on?" he asked. Bonachai said, "Junior brother went to Hong Kong and was killed there." "Who dared to kill my disciple?" Song Gang's expression immediately became gloomy. He did not care about Sarah Banta's life or death. What he cared about was that someone dared to offend his dignity. He had always been a ruthless and vengeful person. All of his enemies had already been killed. Bonachai said, "It's not clear yet. Junior brother was poisoned to death by his own poison needle. It can be seen that the person is definitely a master. I don't care who he is. He can only die if he dares to hurt my disciple." Song Gang stood up and said, "Pack your things and then go to Hong Kong with me. I'd like to see who that person is." Bonachai said respectfully, "Master, I can handle this kind of trivial matter. You don't have to do it yourself." Song Gang said softly, "Hong Kong is rich and there are many rich people. It's also a place where there are many masters. I haven't been out for a long time. It's a good time to go there." Chapter 6:19. On a hill on the outskirts of Hong Kong, there was an extremely beautiful and luxurious manor. Although Hong Kong was economically developed, it was only a small island. It was not an exaggeration to say that every inch of land here was worth its weight in gold. It was already very extravagant to be able to own a house here, but the owner of this manor occupied the top of a small hill, which showed how rich he was. The person who lived here was none other than Mei Zhanlong, who was known as the #1 magician in Hong Kong. In front of the manor, there was a huge parking lot. At this time, it was full of all kinds of luxury cars. These people had come specially to visit Mei Zhanlong. In the living room of the manor, an old man in his 60s was talking to a middle-aged man in his 30s or 40s with a smile on his face. The old man was also a well-known rich man in Hong Kong. Although he was not a top rich man, his net worth was more than 10 billion yuan. Even with such an identity, the middle-aged man opposite him still looked impatient. For no other reason than that his master was Mei Zhanlong and he was the steward of this manor. The steward said impatiently, "Mr. Zhang, I've already told you that Master Mei is in seclusion these days and has no time to receive you." The old man said, "Young man, can you make an exception? I do have some urgent matters and I need Master Mei's guidance. How about I increase the fee by 10 times? How about 10 million yuan, 10 million yuan? The steward smiled disdainfully and said with pursed lips, "Do you think Master Mei cares about your little money? The reason why Master Mei charges for guiding you is that he is afraid that there will be too many people coming. It's just a formality." The old man nodded repeatedly and said with a face full of smiles, "Yes. Yes. Yes. I also know this. Master is an otherworldly master. How could he care about money? However, I really have an urgent matter to discuss with Master today. Please make an exception for me, little brother." The steward raised his hand and pointed to the door. He said impatiently, "There are so many people who want to see Master Mei every day. How can I make an exception? Just wait normally. I think it will be your turn in 2 months." Well, the old man was very helpless, but he did not dare to say anything. This was Master Mei's mansion. Even if he was dissatisfied, he did not dare to show it. He turned around and left. The steward smiled contemptuously, his eyes filled with disdain. There were countless people who came to see Master Mei every day. This old man claimed that he had an urgent matter, but he didn't know how to be flexible. He didn't even give her a red packet. How could she let him see Master Mei? At this moment, a servant ran over and said to the steward, "Sir, the Li family just sent Master Zha's body back. They said that he died of a sudden illness. What should we do?" "What? Master Zha is dead?" The steward was shocked and stood up. Mei Zhanlong had no children in his life. He only had 2 disciples. His eldest disciple was Yi Qinzi, and his second disciple was Master Zha, Zhao Liang. Generally speaking, Mei Zhanlong and Yi Qinzi rarely went out. It was Zhao Liang who made friends with the rich people in Hong Kong. With Mei Zhanlong's power, no one in Hong Kong dared to provoke Master Zha. Moreover, Master Zha himself was amazing. How could he die so easily? The servant said, "Yes, he's dead. Now his body is placed in the back hall. There are no wounds on the surface of his body. It does seem that he died of illness." The steward thought for a moment and said, "This matter is very important. We can't make the decision. Master is cultivating in seclusion. Please go and ask senior brother Yi Qinzi to come here." The servant said, "Senior brother Yi Qinzi just went out to attend an auction. He never takes his mobile phone with him when he goes out. I think he will come back at night." The steward thought for a moment and said, "Master can't be disturbed when he is cultivating in seclusion. Let's put the body away first and wait for senior brother Yi Qinzi to come back." Qin Haodong and Nailan Wushuang went to the auction house together. This was the property of the Li family and it was a high-end business. Those who could attend the auction here were all successful people in Hong Kong and were rich. Moreover, it was a business for members. Every time there was an auction, they would send invitations to members. No one could enter without an invitation. They came here temporarily, so they naturally didn't have an invitation. When they came to the door, Qin Haodong saw that he couldn't enter, so he called Tian Yi, the person in charge of the auction house. Tian Yi had already received Li Meiyu's arrangement in advance. When he heard that Qin Haodong was coming, he immediately said politely, "Mr. Qin, please wait a moment. I'll go out to pick you up now." After hanging up the phone, he hurried to the door. The female secretary next to him was stunned. This was a high-end auction house and Tian Yi met the rich people in Hong Kong every day. She had never seen him lose his composure like this. Of course, the female secretary didn't know what was on Tian Yi's mind. He had been the person in charge of the auction house for a long time. There were not many guests personally arranged by Li Donghua. It was absolutely unique that Mr. Qin could get unlimited funds to bid for the auction. Although he didn't know where Mr. Qin came from, it could be seen how noble his identity was. The Li family attached great importance to him, so he didn't dare to neglect him. After making the phone call, Qin Haodong and Nailan Wushuang stood at the door and waited. A handsome man and a beautiful woman stood there, naturally attracting countless people's attention. At this moment, a young man dressed in luxury brands came over. Apart from other things, his outfit alone was worth millions of yuan. He was also wearing a limited edition Patek Philippe gold watch on his wrist. It was obvious that he came from a rich family. There was a beautiful woman in the young man's arm. Qin Haodong glanced at her and felt that she was a little familiar. Later, he remembered that the woman was a female star in a certain advertisement. "Mr. Bao, you're here." Many people stopped to greet the young man, but the young man looked arrogant. He was Bao Mingyu, the young master of the Bao family. He had enough capital to be proud. He was in charge of the most famous entertainment company in Hong Kong and had countless stars under his management. The woman beside him was a small star he had just fallen in love with. With other identities and statuses, no matter which woman he liked in Hong Kong, he would take the initiative to throw himself at her. Bao Mingyu came to the door and showed his invitation. When he was about to enter, he saw Nalan Wushuang standing next to him. He was suddenly stunned and a feeling of amazement made his brain short-circuit. He had seen countless beautiful women over the years, and he had even slept with countless beauties. But he had never seen such a beautiful and elegant woman. She was simply a goddess in his heart. When he came to his senses, he got rid of the small star beside him and quickly walked to Nalan Wushuang. His eyes were shining and he said, "Hello, beautiful lady." As for Qin Haodong, who was dressed in ordinary clothes, he directly ignored him. Nalan Wushuang looked at Bao Mingyu in surprise and asked, "Sir, what can I do for you?" "Let me introduce myself. I'm Bao Mingyu, the president of Hong Kong Entertainment Company. This is my business card." Bao Mingyu handed a gilded business card to Nalan Wushuang as he spoke. In his opinion, the woman in front of him would definitely change her attitude after receiving his business card. Nowadays, every woman dreamed of being a star, and the more beautiful the woman was, the more she wanted to be a star. Moreover, Hong Kong Entertainment Company was very famous in Hong Kong and even in Wuxia. It was enough to make this woman fall for him and even throw herself at him. However, he was disappointed. Nalan Wushuang frowned and took the business card politely. After glancing at it, her expression didn't change at all. She just held the business card casually in her hand and didn't intend to put it away. It seemed that if he was not by her side, she would probably throw it into the trash can behind her. What's going on? Things were a little different from what he had expected. Could it be that this woman didn't know what his identity represented? He pretended to smile like a gentleman and continued, "Beautiful lady, can you tell me your name?" Nalan Wushuang took Qin Haodong's arm and smiled politely, "Sorry, my boyfriend doesn't like me to tell strangers my name." Although she said it in a euphemistic way, the meaning of her refusal was very clear. Bao Mingyu's expression changed slightly. It was the first time for a woman to refuse him directly. But the more she refused, the more he wanted to conquer her. He continued, "Lady, in fact, I want to tell you one thing. You are so beautiful and have a good temperament. It's a waste that you don't become a star. If you are willing to join my Hong Kong Entertainment Company, I promise I will make you famous in half a year or 3 months. You will become a star in Wuxia and even a best actress in the world. At that time, the red carpet in Cannes, the Oscars, countless flowers and applause, and countless fans will all be yours." He talked incessantly and the little star next to him was full of jealousy. The reason why she had tried so hard to stay with Bao Mingyu was because of all this. But it was obvious that this playboy was going to fall in love with someone else and promised all this to the woman in front of him. Nalan Wushuang slightly frowned and interrupted Bao Mingyu, "Mr. Bao, I'm really sorry. I'm not interested in being a female star. I prefer my current life." Bao Mingyu's face turned red like a rooster whose neck had been choked, and he couldn't say a word. In the past, whenever he said these words to any woman, the woman's eyes would immediately light up and she would like to take off his clothes and have sex with him. But the woman in front of him completely subverted his understanding. His dream of becoming a star could not tempt her at all. He was angry. "Since you don't like being a star, you must like money. No woman in the world can resist the temptation of money." Thinking of this, he took out a Rolls-Royce key from his pocket and gave it to Nalan Wushuang, saying, "This is a new car I bought a week ago. It's worth 5 million yuan. As long as you tell me your name and become friends with me, this car is yours." Seeing all this, the jealousy in the starlet's eyes intensified. She wanted nothing more than to rush up and snatch the key for herself. Chapter 620. Nalan Wushuang's face instantly became cold. If Gao Yiming had been testing her politely before, now he was insulting her. She said in a cold voice, "I don't want your car and I don't want to see you again. Please leave." Hearing this, the little star finally breathed a sigh of relief. No matter who the woman in front of her was, it would be fine as long as she did not threaten her position. She said to Bao Yuming in a coquettish voice, "Young master, it's getting late. The auction is about to start. Let's hurry up and go in." Gao Yuming was angry in his heart and the fake smile on his face disappeared. He said to Nalan Wushuang angrily, "I really don't know what a woman like you is thinking. You have such a good resource but you don't know how to use it. What's the use of guarding such a poor boy? He can't even enter the auction. As long as you are with me, I can take you to the auction with a wave of my hand. I will buy you whatever you want." In his opinion, the reason why Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang were standing at the door was that they wanted to enter the auction but did not have an invitation. Nalan Wushuang suddenly became angry. She could bear other things, but this annoying guy in front of her insulted Qin Haodong. This was her reverse scale and she could not bear it in any case. "Get out of here." Nalan Wushuang burst out and threw the business card in her hand at Bao Yuming's face. Bao Yuming never dreamed that Nalan Wushuang would slap his face in public. But this was a public place and it was not convenient for him to lose his temper. He could only glare at Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang, and then bitterly took the little star into the auction house. What the hell? Nalan Wushuang was obviously still angry and her full chest was heaving violently. "It's not worth getting angry with such a person," Qin Haodong said with a smile. "He is the boss of an entertainment company. Don't you want to be a star?" Nalan Wushuang said, "If you open an entertainment company, I will be a star for you." Qin Haodong said, "Forget it. I'm not interested in that thing." While they were talking, Tian Yi rushed out of the venue. When he saw Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang, he was slightly stunned at first, and then he stepped forward and asked, "Are you Qin Haodong, Mr. Qin?" Qin Haodong nodded. "It's me." Tian Yi was slightly surprised. He didn't expect that the distinguished guest who was valued so highly by the Li family was so young. However, as the person in charge of the auction company, he was very shrewd and didn't show any abnormality. He said respectfully, "I'm sorry, Mr. Qin. I'm late." Qin Haodong said lightly, "Nothing. Let's go in. Both of you, please follow me." Tian Yi made way for them and respectfully let them into the auction house. The auction house owned by the Li family was one of the top auction houses in Hong Kong. The interior was spacious and luxurious. When they walked in, the store was already full of customers, waiting for the auction to begin. After Bao Mingyu led the little star into the auction house, the little star couldn't help but exclaim, "Master Bao, this auction house is really big. Of course, this is the most famous auction house in Hong Kong." Bao Mingyu said proudly, "It's a membership system. Ordinary people can't come in. For example, the two people at the door can't come in unless they are escorted by an important person. They can only stand outside and watch." The little star said with a flattering face, "It seems that you are a member here, master." "Of course, I'm a gold member here. I spend more than 100 million yuan here every year." Bao Mingyu proudly pointed to a row of seats in the front of the hall and said, "These seats are specially prepared for gold members. Ordinary people can only sit in the back." The little star said, "Young master, can I sit here with you?" Bao Mingyu said, "Of course. Gold members can bring one person to the auction with them." "That's great. I'm really benefiting from Master Bao." After the little star sat down with Bao Mingyu, she suddenly saw several extremely luxurious seats at the front of the hall. She asked, "Master Bao, who are those seats for?" Bao Mingyu said, "Those seats are not ordinary. They are the supreme VIP seats in the entire auction house. Those who can sit in those seats are either famous people in Hong Kong, such as the governor of Hong Kong, Master Mei Zhanlong, or his disciples. They are billionaires and VIPs who spend more than 10 billion yuan in the auction house." At this point, his eyes flashed with envy, jealousy, and hatred. "One day, I will definitely be able to sit there." He was looking forward to the future with a look of longing on his face. Suddenly, his expression froze when he saw Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang walking in together. How did these two get in? He drew a question mark in his heart, and then he felt relieved. In his opinion, Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang must have sneaked in. What's the use of coming in? The seats here have been arranged. Let's see where you are sitting. Do you want to attend the auction standing? That will only make you a laughing stock. While he was thinking, he saw Tianyi leading Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang past him. They went straight to the front and then sat down on a Supreme VIP seat. The Supreme VIP seat was a leather sofa for two people. It not only looked extremely luxurious, but also much more comfortable than the seats in the back. Bao Mingyu's eyes suddenly widened. What the hell was going on? Even he was not qualified to sit in the Supreme VIP seat. How could these two people who did not even have an invitation letter sit there? Just now, he had laughed at the little star that these two people could only stand outside the door and watch. He did not expect that in the blink of an eye, they would sit in the seat he had been dreaming of. This made him feel a burning feeling on his face. After Tianyi arranged the two people, he said goodbye to Qin Haodong and went to the back of the auction house. At this time, the little star also noticed Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang. She said, "Master, didn't you say that only people with high status can sit in the Supreme VIP seat? Why are they sitting there?" Well. Bao Mingyu thought for a moment and said, "I know. They must be Tianyi's relatives or friends." He let them in secretly and then they sat in the Supreme VIP seat because there was no seat arrangement. Speaking of this, he became more and more angry. Tianyi is getting bolder and more unruly. I'm a friend of Li Donghai, the eldest young master of the Li family. I must complain about him the next time I meet him. While they were talking, there was a commotion at the entrance of the venue and a middle-aged man in his 50s came in. This man was wearing a cyan robe and there was a yin-yang fish of the 8 trigrams Tai Chi pattern printed on his chest. His hair was coiled on top of his head with a hairpin like that of the ancient people. If he held a horsetail whisk in his hand, he would look more like a Taoist priest. If this man walked on the street, he would definitely attract countless people's attention and even laugh at him. But it was different here. Many people stood up and greeted him when they saw him. Their eyes were full of admiration. It's Master Ichinzi. Master Ichinzi actually came to attend today's auction. Master Ichinzi is so handsome. He's like a master. Hello, Master Ichinzi. When can I have a look at my fortune? No wonder people were so excited. It turned out that this man was Ichinzi, the eldest disciple of Mei Zhanlong, the #1 Dharma caster in Hong Kong. Ichinzi had the demeanor of a master. Although he was pursued by many people, he was calm and always had an unfathomable smile on his face. Compared with Master Jia, Ichinzi seldom came out. This did not reduce his reputation. On the contrary, it raised his status and status. Qin Haodong took a look at Ichinzi and waved to a waiter who was standing next to him. He asked, "Who is this man?" The waiter said, "Sir, this is Master Ichinzi. He's the eldest disciple of Master Mei Zhanlong. His Taoist magic is very profound." At this time, the waiter was full of doubts. He did not know who this young man was. Why was he sitting in the Supreme VIP seat? But he did not know the famous Master Ichinzi. It was said that he was the eldest disciple of Mei Zhanlong, which meant that he was Master Jia's senior brother. Was he here to seek revenge? Of course, Qin Haodong did not care about Master Ichinzi. What he cared about was the auction. He did not want to be disturbed by any accident. As soon as Ichinzi appeared in the hall, Tianyi immediately greeted him. He politely invited him to the front and sat in a Supreme VIP seat next to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief. This guy was not here to make trouble for him. It seemed that he did not know that Master Jia had been killed by him. It would be fine as long as it did not affect today's auction. After sitting down, Ichinzi glanced at Qin Haodong, who was sitting next to him, with a touch of surprise in his eyes. He knew all the upper-class people in Hong Kong, but he had never seen this young man before. Who on earth could make the auction house pay so much attention to him? Qin Haodong did not look at Ichinzi anymore. He did not care about Master Ichinzi at all. What he cared about most now was the snake head that was going to be auctioned later. Soon, the auction began. A tall female auctioneer, who looked like a world-famous model, walked to the front stage. The female auctioneer was Caucasian and had a Western face. However, she was wearing a Chinese cheongsam, which made her curvaceous figure even more perfect. She had a sweet smile on her delicate face, which made people want to get close to her. The most eye-catching thing was that she was wearing a pair of white gloves. She was definitely a golden auctioneer in the auction house. Good evening, friends. Welcome to today's auction. I'm your auctioneer, Daniel. Although Daniel was a Westerner, he spoke Wuxia fluently. If you closed your eyes, you would not be able to imagine that he was a foreigner. Chapter 621. Daniel continued, as you all know, today is Sir Owen's special auction, and all the auction items are provided by Sir Owen. Friends who often attend auctions should know that Sir Owen is a golden signboard. As long as Sir Owen provides the auction items, they are absolutely authentic. You don't have to worry about the authenticity of the auction items. You only need to consider whether you like them and whether you can accept the final auction price. Today, Sir Owen has provided a total of 20 auction items. Now the auction officially begins. Daniel waved her hand and an etiquette lady walked to the front stage with a tray. Today's first auction item is an ancient Wuxia porcelain. It's a brush washer from the official kiln of the Southern Song dynasty. It is said that the great beauty Li Shishir once used it. She was also very proficient in the ancient culture of Wuxia. After making a detailed introduction of this brush washer, she announced, the starting price of this brush washer is 600,000 yuan, and each increase is 100,000 yuan. Now the bidding begins. Friends who are interested, hurry up. The porcelain of the Song dynasty was still very famous in the antique circle. Especially with the word official kiln, its value doubled 800,000 yuan. 1 million yuan. 5 million yuan. The price of this brush washer soared, and it was finally bought by a Hong Kong businessman at the price of 8 million yuan. The auction continued. This time, most of the auction items provided by Sir Owen were cultural relics unearthed in Wuxia. There were blue and white porcelain of the Yuan dynasty and calligraphy and paintings of famous masters. Any one of them was worth a lot. Daniel was indeed outstanding. Under her leadership, the atmosphere of the auction was very lively. All the auction items were successfully sold and none of them were left unsold. Qin Haodong sat there, but he did not raise the bidding card in his hand. He was not interested in these antiques at all. Ichinzi also sat quietly next to him and did not raise the bidding card even once. It seemed that he was waiting for something. Bao Yuming, who was sitting behind them, raised the bidding card several times in a row and successfully bought an ancient painting. From time to time, he glanced at Qin Haodong, waiting for him to raise the price and trample on him. He wanted to let Nailan Wushuang see that the toy boy she liked could only be trampled in front of him. At this moment, another item was brought onto the auction stage. Daniel opened the lid, and to his surprise, it was a very beautiful ancient sword. Dear friends, this is an ancient sword produced in China. According to our expert's appraisal, it should be from the Great Ming Dynasty 400 to 500 years ago. I really admire the ancient Wuxia civilization for being able to make such a beautiful sword at that time. Daniel lifted up the ancient sword on the tray. The sword's scabbard was red and embedded with many different colored gems. The hilt was shaped like a butterfly. It looked like a sword used by women. Daniel continued his introduction. This sword is called the butterfly sword. Although it has been through hundreds of years, it is still extremely sharp. Everyone can take a look. This is definitely a rare ancient sword. As she spoke, she pulled out the sword from its scabbard. Under the illumination of the hall's lights, the sword flashed with a cold light. It did not look rusty at all. Everyone, look closely. This is one of the best ancient swords in China. It's definitely one of the best collectibles. Let's start the bidding. The starting price is 1.2 million, and each increment is 100,000. As Daniel spoke, he started the bidding for the butterfly sword. I offer 1.5 million. I offer 1.8 million. Obviously, many people were interested in this sword. They all raised the number plates in their hands and began to bid. Qin Haodong had already seen through the butterfly sword. This sword was indeed an ancient sword from hundreds of years ago. Although the quality was not very good, it was beautiful and very suitable for women. Knowing that Naylan Wushuang still did not have a suitable weapon, he turned his head and said, "How about it? Do you like it? If you like it, I'll bid for it and give it to you." Naylan Wushuang said, "I'll like anything you give me, and this sword looks really beautiful." "Well, I'll bid for it first. If I find something suitable, I'll change it." At this time, the bidding had reached 3 million. Qin Haodong raised the number plate in his hand and shouted, "I offer 4 million." For an ancient sword, the price of 3 million was already very high. He suddenly raised the price by 1 million. The hall suddenly quieted down, and no one raised the number plate to bid. At the same time, more and more people noticed the young man sitting in the front row. They did not know who he was. Daniel glanced at Qin Haodong in the front row. Just as men liked beautiful women also liked handsome men. She smiled brightly at Qin Haodong and said, "This gentleman bids 4 million yuan. Is there anyone else who wants to participate in the auction? 4 million yuan once." Seeing that Qin Haodong finally raised the number plate, Bao Mingyu was delighted. He did not bid for this ancient sword before, but now Qin Haodong raised the number plate, so he wanted to step on Qin Haodong. Moreover, Qin Haodong had not participated in the bidding for anything for a long time. Now that he suddenly raised the number plate, it meant that Naylan Wushuang liked this sword very much. As long as he bought it, he would be able to please the beauty and maybe get a chance to further develop himself. The moment Daniel raised the small hammer in her hand, Bao Mingyu raised the number plate in his hand and said, "I offer 5 million. Since he wanted to show off, of course, he could not be weak. He could not raise the price less than Qin Haodong, so he also raised the price by 1 million. At this time, Qin Haodong knew that Bao Mingyu was competing with him. He raised the number plate in his hand and shouted, 6 million, 7 million. Bao Mingyu followed closely, 10 million. Qin Haodong shouted a price that shocked everyone. Anyway, he did not care about money. The money would be spent by the Li family. Bao Mingyu hesitated for a moment. He did not expect that this toy boy would be so fierce and raise the price by 3 million at once. However, there was no turning back. Now everyone was watching him bidding with a toy boy. If he gave up now, he would lose face. So he gritted his teeth and continued to shout, 15 million. The price was far higher than the price of this ancient sword. Qin Haodong looked at Bao Mingyu and smiled. This guy was really arrogant. Since he was willing to show off, Qin Haodong would make him even more arrogant. He raised the number plate and shouted, 20 million. By now, he had already given up on the idea of buying this ancient sword. No matter who it was, spending 20 million to buy such an ancient sword that only looked good would still be a joke to others if he took it out. Although he had already given up, he did not mind raising the price of the sword to help the venue earn more commission and help Sir Owen make more money. Well, this time, Bao Mingyu hesitated and did not directly raise the number plate in his hand to bid. He had thought it would only cost him 10 million yuan at most to get the ancient sword and scare Qin Haodong away. Now the price was far higher than he had expected. It was indeed a big price to spend more than 20 million yuan to show off. At this time, Daniel spoke on the stage. As a white glove and a gold auctioneer of the auction house, he certainly knew the psychology of all kinds of people. After several rounds of bidding, he had already seen through Bao Mingyu's mind. 20 million yuan. This handsome Mr. Qin actually bid 20 million yuan. As the saying goes, 1,000 taels of gold can buy a beauty's smile. I guess Mr. Qin wants to buy this sword as a gift for the beautiful lady next to him. I really admire Mr. Qin's generosity to women. Daniel's words were not directed at Bao Mingyu, but she was very skillful. It was obvious that she was praising Qin Haodong, but Bao Mingyu's heart was hurt. He suddenly raised the number plate in his hand and shouted, "I'll pay 30 million. Qin Haodong looked back at him playfully as if he was looking at an idiot. Then he put his number plate on the table. He had already seen that 30 million was this guy's bottom line. If he raised the price, he would be the biggest winner. Daniel smiled and said, "Mr. Bao, 30 million. Is there anyone else?" 30 million once, 30 million twice. After asking twice in a row, she knocked the hammer in her hand on the table in front of her. "Congratulations, Mr. Bao. This beautiful ancient sword is yours." Although Bao Mingyu had won the bid, he didn't look happy at all. 30 million yuan was enough for him to invest in a small movie. It was too much for him to spend so much money just to show off. He had just shouted it out on impulse. Now that he had calmed down, his heart was bleeding. But he had already spent the money, so he could not say anything. He turned his head and looked at Nalan Wushuang. He had spent so much money, so the beauty should be impressed by him. However, Nalan Wushuang was not even interested in looking back at him. She was still looking at Qin Haodong with affection. Although she did not get the butterfly sword, she did not look dissatisfied at all. F***ck. He cursed fiercely in his heart, feeling extremely aggrieved. No matter how depressed he was, the auction went on. On the stage, Daniel began to introduce the next item. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item is the highlight of today's auction. I believe many people are here for it. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is a national treasure of our country. Maybe some of you have already guessed that it is a precious cultural relic of our country, the snake head of the 12 zodiac animals. After Daniel's tempting words, there was a commotion under the stage. Indeed, many people came to the auction for the bronze head of the 12 zodiac animals. Chapter 622. Daniel said, "I don't think I need to tell you more about the bronze head. This is a treasure from the old summer palace of Wuxia. Wuxia was weak back then, so the national treasure was lost. Today, Wuxia is strong and rich people are gathering. If anyone here is willing and has the ability, I sincerely hope that someone can bring this snake head back to Wuxia. Although I'm not from Wuxia, I know that this is a treasure that belongs to Wuxia." This woman was indeed a talent. She knew what to say to mobilize everyone's enthusiasm to the greatest extent. After she finished speaking, many rich Chinese businessmen present were ready to take action. Obviously, they all wanted to buy the snake head and send it back to Wuxia. Seeing that everyone was excited, Daniel said directly, "Let's start the auction of the snake head. This is the most valuable treasure in our auction today. The starting price is 5 million yuan and the price will increase by 1 million yuan each time. Friends who are interested can start now." Normally, the price of the snake head would definitely be much higher than 5 million yuan, but the starting price of the auction items was lower than the value of the item. The price would only rise after the starting price. Some people had even predicted that the snake head would be sold for at least 30 million yuan this time, or even more than 50 million yuan. As soon as Daniel's voice fell, someone shouted, "I'll pay 5 million yuan." The first person to make a bid was Ichinzi, who was sitting in the front row. He had not made a bid yet, and it was obvious that he was waiting for the snake head. To everyone's surprise, after the auction, Ichinzi stood up from his seat, turned around and said to everyone behind him, "Everyone, this snake head is something that my master likes." The old man looked very arrogant. After saying that, he did not even look at the crowd and sat back directly. Obviously, he was very sure that no one in Hong Kong dared to compete with Mei Zhanlong. All the people present were speechless. Many people who had been waiting to bid were dumbfounded. Some people had even raised their number plates halfway, but after hearing Ichinzi's words, they all stopped. In Hong Kong, no one dared to offend Mei Zhanlong and his disciple. Once they offended the most powerful man in Hong Kong, they would not be able to live in peace in the future as long as they left a talisman in their house. Losing all their money would be a light punishment, and their family might even be ruined. Qin Haodong's eyes widened abruptly. What was the difference between using power to frighten others into bidding and robbing things? Generally speaking, this kind of behavior was absolutely prohibited in the auction venue. If someone else did this, they would probably be beaten up by the auction organizers immediately. But it was Ichinzi who spoke today, and he had just said that this was what Mei Zhanlong wanted. Whether it was the Li family who was in charge of the auction or Sir Owen who took out the auction item, no one wanted to offend Master Mei Zhanlong for such an item. Daniel did not speak, nor did Tianyi. Even the representative sent by Sir Owen did not speak. Ichinzi sneered complacently. The result was within his expectation. No one dared to compete with them for what they wanted. The others also thought so. Without Ichinzi's participation, the snakehead would definitely be sold at a sky-high price. But now it was different. No one dared to offend Ichinzi for this snakehead. Even Mei Zhanlong, who was behind him. Daniel secretly shook her head. As the auctioneer, of course, she didn't want to see this result. The higher the price, the more commission she would get. If it was sold at a low price, she wouldn't get a single cent of commission. But she also knew the person in front of her. Even these rich people were afraid of him. As an auctioneer, she definitely could not afford to offend him. Seeing that there was no sound around, she picked up the auction hammer in her hand and shouted, "This snakehead has been chosen by Master Ichinzi. Is there anyone else who wants to bid? If not, 5 million once, 5 million twice." Just when she raised the auction hammer in her hand and was about to make the final decision, she suddenly heard someone shouting, "I bid 6 million." Daniel was startled. Her right hand trembled and she almost knocked the hammer on the table. She quickly put away the hammer and looked in the direction of the voice. Not only her, but all the people present also looked at the person who made the bid. A number plate was raised high in the front row. It was the young man who had just bid with Bao Mingyu for the butterfly sword. Seeing that Daniel was stunned and did not respond, Qin Haodong smiled at her and said again, "Beautiful Miss Daniel, I bid 6 million. Daniel came to her senses and looked at Qin Haodong with a flash of worry in her eyes. She quickly said professionally, "Mr. Qin bid 6 million yuan. Is there anyone else who wants to bid?" She also knew what this bid represented, so she did not make too much exaggeration. No one could predict what Ichinzi would do next. Now everyone's eyes were focused on Ichinzi, because Qin Haodong's bid was not only a matter of money, but also a direct challenge to Ichinzi's authority and the authority of Mei Zhanlong, the #1 practitioner in Hong Kong. Who the hell is this guy? How dare he bid with Master Ichinzi? Does he want to die? I don't know. Since he can sit in the supreme VIP seat, he must have some background. But no matter how powerful his background is, he can't be compared with Master Ichinzi. It's really a case of a mouse playing with a cat. He wants money more than his life. He dares to rob others. Does he think that Master Ichinzi is as rich as Bao Yuming? He's doomed, I guess he doesn't know who Master Ichinzi is. If he knew, he would not dare to compete with Bao Yuming. Even so, he is doomed. The people present were all talking about it. Everyone looked at him with pity, excitement, and gloating eyes. Bao Yuming was the happiest one. He had been thinking about how to teach this arrogant guy a lesson, but now it seemed that he did not need to do it. This guy from Wuxia would probably die after offending Master Ichinzi. A flash of fear flashed across Tian Ye's face and he hurried over to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong seemed to know what he was going to do, so he waved his hand and motioned him not to say anything. This, Qin Haodong was a distinguished guest of the Li family and Master Ichinzi was on the other side. Tian Yi could not afford to offend either of them, so he could only stand aside silently and resign himself to fate. Ichinzi's face quickly darkened. He did not expect that this young man in his 20s would dare to challenge his prestige. He looked at Qin Haodong coldly and his eyes were full of killing intent. Qin Haodong still had a faint smile on his face, as if Ichinzi was not looking at him. "Boy, do you know who I am? I'm Ichinzi." Ichinzi finally revealed his identity. In his opinion, the reason why the young man in front of him dared to be so arrogant was that he did not know his identity. But something unexpected happened again. Qin Haodong just smiled faintly and said, "I'm bidding for this snakehead sculpture. Who you are has nothing to do with me. Don't tell me you want me to give up on bidding just because of your ugly name." "Good, very good." Ichinzi finally understood that Qin Haodong did not take him seriously at all. He said coldly, "I hope you can take this snakehead sculpture back." At this moment, he had made up his mind. He wanted this snakehead sculpture and this young man's life. However, this was an auction house after all, so it was not appropriate for him to kill Qin Haodong in public. He had to wait until the auction was over. Qin Haodong smiled and did not take Ichinzi's threat seriously at all. He turned his head and said to the stage, "Miss Daniel, shall we continue the auction?" Daniel came to her senses and continued, "Mr. Qin has already bid 6 million yuan. Is there anyone else who wants to bid? If not, 6 million once, 6 million twice." Everyone present knew that although Qin Haodong had bid for this snakehead sculpture, it was still Master Ichinzi's possession. In this case, no one would be stupid enough to bid for it. Although the snakehead sculpture was precious, it was not as valuable as one's life. In this case, Daniel called out several times, but no one raised their bid. Finally, she put down the hammer and the snakehead sculpture was sold to Qin Haodong at the price of 6 million yuan. Qin Haodong was quite surprised by this result. He did not expect that this old man would stand up and rob it, but in the end, he got the bargain. He had just used his mobile phone to check the auction of the animal heads. Recently, a head sculpture was sold for more than 20 million yuan, but that was almost 10 years ago. In recent years, the price of antiques in Wuxia had been soaring, not to mention a national treasure like the bronze head sculpture of the 12 zodiac animals. It wouldn't be surprising if it could be sold for 60 million yuan, let alone 6 million yuan. However, because of Ichinzi's interference, he bought such a valuable thing at such a low price. It was a pleasant surprise. The auction continued. When the last item was brought to the stage, everyone was surprised. It turned out to be a monk's staff. This staff was about 1.5 meters high and the metal color was very dark. It was hard to tell what material it was made of. There were 12 strings of gold rings hanging on its head. When it moved, it made a pleasant sound as if it could shake people's souls. After seeing this staff, Qin Haodong almost jumped up from his seat. The Buddha Chi on this staff was so strong that it had reached the level of a divine weapon. He had never dreamed that there would be such a rare Buddhist treasure in today's auction in addition to the snakehead sculpture, which was a national treasure. From the moment he saw this staff, he had made up his mind to get this treasure. Chapter 623. Daniel held the Buddha's staff in his hand, and as he shook it, the 12 golden rings produced a pleasant sound. My friends, I don't need to tell you that this is a Buddhist staff. It has a long history and was obtained by Sir Owen by chance. If any of you is destined to be a Buddhist monk, you can take it back with you. It will definitely bless your family and make your career prosperous. She said a lot, but if you looked closely, you would find nothing substantial. It was not that she didn't want to say it, but she really didn't know the origin of the staff. This staff was indeed something that Sir Owen had obtained by chance. He had asked many experts in this field to identify it, but they could not find any useful information about its history and age. Sir Owen was a devout Christian, so he had no interest in collecting Buddhist artifacts. Therefore, he sold it at the auction. Because of the uncertainty of the staff, the auction house put it behind the beast head, hoping that it could be sold at a good price because of the snake head. However, the auction house didn't expect that the snake head, which they had high hopes for, was only sold for 6 million yuan. Daniel continued, now the bidding for this staff starts. The starting price is 500,000 yuan, and each increment must be no less than 100,000 yuan. My friends who are destined to be a Buddhist can start bidding now. Although Qin Haodong had already chosen this staff, he had 500 years of experience. The more he wanted something, the more he had to be calm and the less he could show his desire. Therefore, he was not in a hurry to bid. He wanted to see other people's reactions. It would be best if no one was interested in it. But as soon as Daniel finished speaking, Bao Mingyu raised the number plate in his hand and said, I'll pay 800,000 yuan. Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. He didn't expect that this playboy would be interested in the staff. The star was also very surprised and asked, Master, it's obviously used by monks. Why do you want to buy it? Bao Mingyu said, it's my grandfather's 80th birthday in a few days. He believes in Buddhism all his life, and his favorite things are Buddhist objects. I think this is a good thing. It's the best gift for him. Qin Haodong heard his words clearly. No matter what the other party's purpose was, he had to get his hands on this Buddhist staff. Except for the two of them, no one else had any interest in the staff. The people who came to the auction were experts in antiques. Naturally, they could see that the staff had no age or history, so there was not much room for it to rise in value. Therefore, after the auction started, only a few people made a few bids, and then they all backed out. The market gradually quieted down. Daniel said, Mr. Bao has offered 2 million yuan. Is there anyone else interested? You only have one chance. There won't be another if you miss it. Qin Haodong saw that it was almost time. He raised the number plate in his hand and shouted, I'll pay 5 million. After Bao Mingyu made his offer, there was an uproar in the hall. In everyone's eyes, Bao Mingyu had raised the price by 3 million yuan for an unknown object. Many people shook their heads. This young man had offended Yi and no one knew whether he would survive. Now he was here to argue with Bao Mingyu. They really didn't know what he was thinking. Bao Mingyu was no exception. In his opinion, there was no need for Qin Haodong to buy this Buddhist staff at all. The reason why Qin Haodong raised the price was to humiliate him. He was furious. He had already lost once. If he were to lose again, he would be too ashamed to stay in this industry. I'll pay 10 million. Bao Mingyu raised the price by 5 million at once. But Qin Haodong didn't care about that at all. He was determined to get this Buddhist staff, so he shouted, 20 million. Daniel's lips curled into a smile. She was a little disappointed by the snake head just now, but it was just like the old saying in Wuxia, what you lose on the swings, you gain on the mulberry. She never thought that this Buddhist staff would be sold for such a high price. Although Qin Haodong raised the price by 10 million, Bao Mingyu didn't flinch. He shouted, 30 million, 40 million, Bao Mingyu gritted his teeth and said, 50 million. This price was already very high for him. If it wasn't a gift for his grandpa, he wouldn't be able to explain it to his family. Qin Haodong looked at him with a smile and said lightly, 80 million, his voice was not loud, but it shocked the whole auction house. He raised the price by 30 million at once. Who on earth was this prodigal son who spent so much money on a monk's crutch? Did his family's money come from nowhere? Bao Mingyu was ashamed and angry. If he continued to raise the price, it would be almost 100 million yuan. Even if he could afford it, he didn't dare to raise the price easily. Who knew if Qin Haodong was trying to cheat him again? Now he was in a dilemma. If he gave up now, he would be disgraced. If he continued to raise the price, he really couldn't afford it. Feeling the sarcasm in the eyes of the people around him, his face became redder and redder. He was extremely embarrassed and he held the number plate tightly with his right hand. There were several times when he had the urge to jump up and down, but he was suppressed by reason. Suddenly, he thought of something and shouted to Daniel on the stage, "Auctioneer, I want to verify the price. I think this guy has no money at all. He's just raising the price." Qin Haodong didn't even have an invitation to the auction house before. It was already good enough for such a person to spend 6 million to buy the snakehead sculpture. How could he have enough money to compete with him, let alone take out 80 million yuan at once? According to the rules of the auction house, he could ask to verify Qin Haodong's assets. As long as Qin Haodong had no money, not only would he win, but Qin Haodong would also be disgraced. The more Bao Mingyu thought about it, the more proud he was. He felt that he was really smart. At this time, Tianyi walked to him and said, "Mr. Bao, Mr. Qin's assets don't need to be verified." Bao Mingyu was immediately angry and shouted, "Why? According to the rules of your auction house, you can verify Qin Haodong's assets." In his opinion, Qin Haodong was in cahoots with Tianyi. He must have sneaked into the auction house through Tianyi's connections. Tianyi said, "There are indeed relevant rules in the auction house, but Mr. Qin is a distinguished guest of our Li family. The money he needs to participate in the auction will be borne by us, and there is no upper limit." After Tianyi's words, the whole auction house was in an uproar. What did it mean that there was no upper limit for capital consumption? Didn't it mean that he could buy whatever he wanted and the Li family would pay for it? No one had expected that this young man would be treated so well. Who was he? How could he be valued by the Li family? Who the hell is this Qin brat? He has no upper limit for capital consumption. Isn't it amazing? I guess he must be the illegitimate son of a big shot in Wuxia. Otherwise, the Li family would never try to please him. Oh my God, he is so powerful. I want to marry him. I want to have children with him. Some people sneered at him. No matter how rich he was, what could he do? If he offended Master Yichenzi, he would definitely lose his life. Bao Mingyu was already dumbfounded at this time. Qin Haodong had unlimited capital consumption in the auction house, but he was still fighting with Qin Haodong and trying to trample on Qin Haodong with money. Now he felt more and more like an idiot. It was like playing a game. Qin Haodong had unlimited firepower and life, but Bao Mingyu insisted on fighting with him. How could he win? After explaining the situation, Tianyi left and Daniel said on the stage, "Mr. Qin bids 80 million yuan. Is there anyone else who wants to make a bid?" The auction house was silent and no one made a sound. No one would compete with Qin Haodong for an auction item if they had too much money to spend. Besides, they didn't know what the item was used for. After calling several times, no one responded. Daniel knocked the auction hammer in his hand and the monk's staff was now Qin Haodong's. She was very happy. No matter who paid for Qin Haodong's consumption, she would get a commission. 80 million yuan was already the largest sum of money they had made at the auction tonight, which was enough to make up for the loss of the snake head. The last item was sold and today's auction was completely over. The guests who participated in the auction began to leave the auction house. Yichenzi stood up, glanced at Qin Haodong with killing intent, and then walked out. In his opinion, this young man was already a dead man, but it was not convenient for him to kill him in the auction house. Qin Haodong had already received the 2 collections. He was holding the box with the snake head in his hand and the monk's staff was in Nalan Wushuang's hands. He was now sure that this monk's staff was a divine weapon, but it looked a little strange in the hands of a beautiful woman like Nalan Wushuang. After the auction, he was not in a hurry to leave. He said to Tian Yi, "Manager Tian, is it convenient for you? I have something to tell you." Tian Yi sighed and said, "Mr. Qin, please come to my office and sit for a while." In his opinion, Qin Haodong must have asked him for help because of Yiqinzi. Li Meiyu had told him that the young man in front of him was a super distinguished guest of the Li family and he must meet all his requirements. There was no other way but to send all the security forces of the auction house to protect Qin Haodong's safety. But there was little hope that they could stop Master Yiqinzi. As a native of Hong Kong, Master Mei Zhanlong and Yiqinzi were like immortals in their hearts. How could ordinary people compete with immortals? In his opinion, it was very unwise for Qin Haodong to offend Yiqinzi for a snake head. Qin Haodong followed Tian Yi to his office. After sitting down, he asked, "Manager Tian, do you know Sir Owen?" Chapter 624. Tian Yi was slightly stunned. He had thought that Qin Haodong would ask him for help, but he didn't expect that Qin Haodong would ask him this question. Did this young man want Sir Owen to protect him? But he was afraid that Sir Owen wouldn't be able to help him if he offended Master Yiqinzi. Besides, he only had business dealings with Sir Owen. There was no relationship at all, and Sir Owen would not help him. However, since Qin Haodong asked him this question, he could only answer, "I've only met Sir Owen a few times, so I'm not familiar with him at all. Besides, Sir Owen doesn't care about a nobody like me. When Sir Owen held auctions here in the past, his butler, Mr. Fred, contacted me, so we're very familiar with each other and we're good friends." Qin Haodong said, "That's enough. I just want to know if Sir Owen has any bronze statues of the 12 zodiac animals. Do you have any news about them?" Looking at Qin Haodong's eager face, Tian Yi was full of helplessness. It seemed that this young man didn't realize his situation yet. He had offended Yiqinzi because of a snake head. What he should be thinking about now was how to resolve Master Yiqinzi's anger. Why was he still thinking about the bronze statues of the 12 zodiac animals? He said, "Mr. Qin, please don't be angry with me. I think you should contact the chairman immediately. He has a good relationship with Master Jia, and Master Jia is Master Yiqinzi's junior brother. If Master Jia is willing to mediate, you can give the snake head to Master Yiqinzi. Then you can resolve the grudge today. Otherwise, the consequences will be very serious." Qin Haodong was stunned. He was eager to get another animal head, but he didn't expect that Tian Yi would talk about this. How could he ask Master Jia to mediate the relationship between him and Yiqinzi? If he wanted to find Master Jia now, he would have to go to hell. He said, "Manager Tian, I appreciate your kindness, but you don't have to worry about Yiqinzi. I can handle it myself. Can you tell me whether Sir Owen has any more bronze statues of the 12 zodiac animals?" Seeing that Qin Haodong didn't listen to his advice, Tian Yi could only sigh and said, "Fred was drunk when I was drinking with him once. He mentioned that Sir Owen had 2 bronze statues of the 12 zodiac animals. One was auctioned today, so it's very likely that he has another one." "Really? That's great." Qin Haodong was very excited when he heard that Sir Owen still had a bronze head. If he could get 2 upper-grade primordial stones, he would be able to break through to the elixir realm late stage. With the purity of the everlasting greenwood skill, he would definitely be invincible below the Saint realm. He asked excitedly, "Manager Tian, is there any way to get Sir Owen to auction the copper hand as well?" Tian Yi shook his head and said, "It's up to Sir Owen to decide what to sell. Even Fred can only follow his orders. How can I do anything about it?" Qin Haodong said again, then can you help me buy the remaining bronze head sculpture of the 12 zodiacs? No matter how much it costs. That's not very possible either. Tianyi said, Sir Owen is a famous great collector. His family is very rich and doesn't lack money at all. He will only auction certain collections when he is tired of them. It's almost impossible to buy an item from him alone. Moreover, as a butler, it was his duty to keep secrets for his master. Fred had only told him that Sir Owen had 2 bronze heads of the 12 zodiac animals when he was drunk. If we rush to ask for it, we won't get anything. If you buy it, not only will you not get anything, but you will also cause trouble for Fred. He might even lose his position as chief butler. Qin Haodong also realized that this was not a good idea. He said, Manager Tian, you are an expert in this field. Can you help me find a way to buy the remaining bronze head sculpture from Sir Owen? Sir Owen did not attach much importance to these things when he sold the snakehead sculpture, but they were extremely precious to Qin Haodong. Tianyi said, Sir Owen is a great collector. Successful collectors like him rarely sell their collections. They usually give them as gifts to friends or exchange them with others. Mr. Qin, if you want to get the other bronze head sculpture, the best way is to find something that Sir Owen is interested in and then exchange it with him. That's a good idea, Qin Haodong said. Manager Tian, do you know what Sir Owen likes most? In other words, what can I use to exchange for the bronze head sculpture from him? Tianyi said, Sir Owen loves to collect. Due to historical reasons, most of the antiques in his inventory are from Wuxia, so it's really not easy to interest him with something from Wuxia. As a great collector, what Sir Owen lacks most are European classical relics. At the same time, he is also very fond of these things. Mr. Fred told me that Sir Owen likes Picasso's paintings best, but the most regrettable thing is that although he has a rich collection, there are no works of Picasso. So he told me several times that once a painting of Picasso appears at the auction, I must inform Sir Owen in advance and buy it no matter how much it costs. If you can have Picasso's works, you can exchange them with Sir Owen, not to mention the bronze head sculpture of the 12 zodiac animals from Wuxia. Qin Haodong was delighted. It might be more difficult to get other antiques, but when it came to ancient paintings, he had his own processing plant and could make a batch at will. After saying that, Tianyi shook his head and said, it's impossible. Although there are many paintings of Picasso when he was alive, there are very few antique lovers in the world. All his works have been collected and they haven't appeared at international auctions in recent years. Qin Haodong said, Manager Tian, I happen to have some paintings of Picasso at home. I'll bring them to you in a few days and ask you to help me identify them. If possible, contact Sir Owen and exchange with him. What? Tianyi almost bit his tongue. He didn't expect that Qin Haodong really had Picasso's paintings. What the hell were they? Did he have more than one painting in his hand? Qin Haodong stood up and said, Manager Tian, thank you for helping me so much. I'll go back now. Let's contact each other another day. Wait a minute. Tianyi quickly said, Mr. Qin, if I'm not wrong, Master Ichinzi must be waiting for you outside. If you go out now, it will be very dangerous. Why don't you hide here for a while? Qin Haodong smiled and said, What are you talking about? I can't hide here all the time. Besides, he's just Ichinzi. It's not a big deal. After that, he walked out of the door with Nalan Wushuang. Tianyi said anxiously, Mr. Qin, please wait a minute. I'll call all the bodyguards of the auction house and ask them to escort you. It's really unnecessary. We can do it ourselves. Qin Haodong waved his hand to Tianyi and then strode out of his office. Tianyi didn't understand why this young man was so confident. He didn't take Master Ichinzi seriously at all. After thinking for a while, he picked up his mobile phone. Since he couldn't help Qin Haodong, he would report it to Old Master Li as soon as possible. As soon as Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang drove away from the auction house, Li Meiyu called and said hurriedly, "Haodong, what happened? I heard that you offended Master Yi Qinzi again in the auction house." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "That old faker pretended to be arrogant. He insisted on buying the snakehead sculpture at the lowest price, so I took it." Li Meiyu said anxiously, "Haodong, how can you still laugh? Yi Qinzi is much more powerful than Master Jia. He's Master Jia's senior brother. Since you offended him, he will definitely take revenge on you." Qin Haodong said indifferently, "He's just an old faker. It's not a big deal. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing." He really didn't take Yi Qinzi seriously. He had a strong spirit as his foundation. When it came to magic arts, few people could surpass him. Li Meiyu said, "Well, be careful. Now that Master Jia was dead, it would be good if Mei Zhanlong didn't vent his anger on the Li family. They really couldn't help him in this matter." After hanging up the phone, Qin Haodong didn't return to the Li family's villa. Instead, he drove directly out of the city and chose a very remote place to stop. Nalan Wushuang asked, "What are you going to do?" Qin Haodong said, "Since there's trouble, I'd better solve it as soon as possible." He still had a lot of things to do, such as improving his cultivation and getting the other bronze head from Sir Owen. It was better to solve trouble like Yi Qinzi as soon as possible. He felt Yi Qinzi's aura as soon as he got in the car, so he directly drove out of the city to create a chance for Yi Qinzi to take action. Then he got out of the car, turned his head to the dark place and said, "Since you've been following me for so long, come out quickly. Don't dawdle. I'm in a hurry." Nalan Wushuang also got out of the car, holding the monk's staff in her hand. After Qin Haodong finished speaking, she saw a figure slowly appear from the darkness and walk to them. It was Yi Qinzi with a gloomy face. Yi Qinzi stared at Qin Haodong coldly and said with a murderous look, "Boy, do you know who I am?" Qin Haodong said, "Yes, I do. You're just an old faker. You swindle around all day long and claim to be a master, but what you do is dirty things. Boy, you're courting death." Yi Qinzi said, "Hand over the snake head and I'll consider sparing your life." "Hand over the snake head? Are you kidding me? If I give it to you now, why did I buy it just now?" Qin Haodong said, "You just want to rob me, don't you? Hurry up. I told you that I'm in a hurry." Chapter 625. Arrogant boy, I'm going to pull out your soul and burn it with Yin fire for 49 days so that you can never be reincarnated. With a roar, Yi Qinzi took out a small black flag from his pocket. The flag was triangular and about the size of a palm. There was no pattern on it and it was completely black. He held the flag in his hand and waved it gently. Suddenly, an invisible force enveloped Qin Haodong. This was called the soul-taking flag, an extremely sinister magic weapon. Its effect was much stronger than that of the soul-taking talisman. It could absorb a person's soul with a gentle wave. The soul-taking flag had an effect on others, but Qin Haodong's spirit was so strong that he only felt a slight vibration in his spirit and then the vibration disappeared. He took a step forward and stood in front of Nalan Wushuang. Then he sneered and said, "Old faker, your broken flag seems to be useless." Yi Qinzi was shocked. He did not understand why the soul-taking flag, which had worked every time, suddenly failed. "Boy, I'll let you taste the feeling of hundreds of ghosts devouring your heart." He directly put away the soul-taking flag and took out a small black porcelain bottle. After opening the lid, a burst of red smoke came out and more than 100 ghosts sprayed out from it. Yi Qinzi and Master Jia were disciples of the same master, so their skills were similar. However, the ghosts released from the bottle were much more powerful than those released by Master Jia. For a time, the area within a radius of 10 meters was covered by ghosts. They were wailing and howling, like hell on earth. Among the ghosts, the leader was a ghost in red. Obviously, it was the Ghost King. It looked extremely fierce and it let out a shrill howl and pounced on Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong frowned slightly. When he was about to take out the yin-yang mirror, the monk's staff in Nalan Wushuang's hand suddenly reacted. The 12 golden rings moved without any wind and made a pleasant sound. Then the whole monk's staff shone with a golden light. The Buddha's light released by the monk's staff was so condensed that the ghosts immediately let out a miserable howl and then were purified. In the blink of an eye, the monk's staff had killed all the ghosts before Qin Haodong could do anything. Then the Buddha's light disappeared and everything returned to normal. Nalan Wushuang was shocked. She didn't expect that the thing in her hand was so powerful. No wonder Qin Haodong would spend so much money to buy it. Qin Haodong looked at the monk's staff and nodded with satisfaction. It was indeed a divine artifact. It could emit such a strong Buddha's light on its own. If it was driven by someone, its power would be at least 10 times greater. Ichinzi held the ghost-rearing bottle in his hand and was so distressed that his eyes almost cracked. He had spent a lot of effort on these ghosts, but they had been purified in the blink of an eye. At the same time, he also discovered that the Buddha's staff in Qin Haodong's hand was a great treasure, but he didn't notice it before. "Kid, hand over this treasure and the snake head, and I can spare your life." Qin Haodong glanced at him as if he was looking at an idiot and said, "Are you out of your mind? If you know it's a treasure, why should I give it to you? Are you my son?" "You." Ichinzi said angrily, "Don't think that I can't kill you with a monk's staff. Go to hell." He raised his hand, and more than a dozen talismans were sucked into the air. They burned without any fire, and more than a dozen golden talismans appeared in the air. Then, these talismans turned into wind blades and swarmed toward Qin Haodong. These were the wind blade talismans specially refined by Ichinzi. Each talisman could turn into a wind blade. He had killed countless masters with this kind of talisman. Qin Haodong glanced at these wind blades and his eyes were full of contempt. He sneered and said, "How dare a grain of rice shine?" Then he pinched his fingers and made a gesture. He stretched out his hand and pointed forward. Suddenly, a gust of wind rose from the ground and swept away the wind blades. Ichinzi's wind blades could fight against swords, but they couldn't resist Qin Haodong's gust of wind. In the blink of an eye, they dissipated in the air. His expression changed and then he sneered, "No wonder you are so arrogant. It turns out that you know some magic arts. But didn't your master teach you that as a master of magic arts, you should never let a warrior get close to you? But it's not your fault. No one would have thought that I'm a master of magic arts and martial arts. Go to hell." Ichinzi said and suddenly pulled out the long sword on his back. Then he turned into a stream of light and slashed at Qin Haodong's head. Sorcery and martial arts dual cultivation had always been his secret, and also his pride. Generally speaking, it was very difficult for a person to make achievements in magic arts or martial arts. It was almost impossible for him to practice magic arts and martial arts at the same time. For example, his junior brother Zhao Liang could not do it. Therefore, Ichinzi was very complacent and proud. In his opinion, even if Qin Haodong was proficient in magic arts, he would die if he got close to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong glanced at Ichinzi. Others might not be able to see through Ichinzi's strength, but Qin Haodong had already seen through him. Qin Haodong was just a warrior at the covert power level. He really didn't know why Ichinzi was so proud. How dare he come to fight him at close range? Wasn't he courting death? The sword in Ichinzi's hand moved faster and faster. When it was about to hit Qin Haodong's forehead, a golden light flashed in front of him and a golden sword pierced through his heart. Ichinzi's sword fell to the ground helplessly. You also practice magic arts and martial arts at the same time?" At this time, his eyes were full of fear. He had always been proud of his ability to practice magic arts at the same time, but he did not expect that his opponent was also a master of magic arts. Moreover, his cultivation was much higher than his. He had reached the supreme power realm. He did not understand where this genius came from. No wonder Qin Haodong did not take him seriously at all. In comparison, he was not qualified to be taken seriously at all. At this time, his heart was full of regret. Why did he court death when Qin Haodong was so powerful? Unfortunately, it was too late for regret. Qin Haodong withdrew his Xian Yuan sword and Yiqinzi fell to the ground with a thud and stopped breathing. Why should I be so greedy? Qin Haodong sighed with emotion. Then he took out the body melting powder and sprinkled it on Yiqinzi's body. Master Yiqinzi, who was famous in Hong Kong, soon turned into a handful of ashes and disappeared in the air. After killing Yiqinzi, Qin Haodong was not in a hurry to leave. He chose a flat space around and then set up a concealing formation. Then he set up a defensive formation. He wanted to absorb the upper-level spirit stone here and break through his current cultivation. He could not be disturbed when he was breaking through, and now there was Mei Zhanlong, who would come to kill him at any time. It was obviously not enough to rely on Nalan Wushuang to protect him, so he chose this place. His formation was safer. After everything was ready, he activated the concealing formation. The two people and the car all disappeared as if they had never appeared here. Qin Haodong took out the snake head and opened the seal formation outside. As expected, there was a golden upper-level spirit stone in it. He asked Nalan Wushuang to guard him, then he held the spirit stone in his palm and began to break through to the middle stage of the gold core realm. The spiritual qi emitted by the upper-level spirit stone was like a tide, rushing into his dantian like birds returning to their nests. During this period of time, through the double cultivation with Feng Wu, the gold core in his dantian had been extremely round, but it could not go further due to the limitation of the spiritual qi. Now with the nourishment of the upper-level spirit stone, the genuine qi in his body was growing rapidly. As time went by, the spirit stone in Qin Haodong's palm became smaller and smaller, while the gold core in his dantian became bigger and more solid. Half an hour later, there was a slight click in his mind, and then his momentum suddenly rose. He had taken a big step forward to the middle stage of the gold core realm, which was his previous cultivation. He slowly opened his eyes and the upper-level spirit stone in his hand had turned into powder. Nalan Wushuang had been guarding him nervously. Seeing Qin Haodong wake up, she hurried forward and asked, "How was it? Did you succeed?" Qin Haodong nodded and said, "Yes, I have now reached the 6th level of the supreme power realm." "Great!" Nalan Wushuang's face was full of joy. It seems that today's auction was not in vain. Qin Haodong was also very happy and said, "Of course, not only did I get the snake head, but I also got this Buddhist staff. This is a divine treasure." As he spoke, he took the Buddhist staff in his hand and looked at it carefully. He did not know the name of such a treasure. He looked at it from beginning to end, but there was no information about this Buddhist staff. He turned the green wood genuine qi into Buddhist genuine qi and passed it over. In an instant, the Buddhist staff shone with a golden light and a string of words appeared in his mind. After reading these words, Qin Haodong understood that this Buddhist staff was indeed a Buddhist treasure. It was called the demon vanquishing staff. In addition to subduing demons and devils, this staff had another important function. It could help people cultivate and get rid of their inner demons. Without the troubles of inner demons, the speed of cultivation would naturally be doubled. When cultivating, holding this Buddhist staff, the distracting thoughts in the heart would disappear. It was a top treasure to get rid of inner demons. The 12 golden rings on the staff could cut off 12 kinds of distracting thoughts in the heart and get rid of 12 kinds of inner demons. If inner demons appeared during cultivation, they would make a sound and the inner demons would be turned into nothingness by the rings. After learning about this unique function of the demon vanquishing staff, Qin Haodong's eyes lit up. The last time he went through the heavens tribulation, he was finally defeated by his inner demons. If he had this staff with him, it would be more secure when he went through the tribulation. Nalan Wushuang saw that he was stunned and asked in surprise, "How is it? Have you figured it out?" "I've figured it out." Qin Haodong said excitedly, "This Buddhist staff is called the Demon Vanquishing Staff. It's a good treasure. When you cultivate in the future, you can get twice the result with half the effort with it." "I don't want it." Nalan Wushuang said discontentedly, "Have you ever seen a girl holding a Buddhist staff in her hand all day?" Qin Haodong looked embarrassed and said, "This can help you improve your cultivation quickly. Don't fool me with the things that monks use." Nalan Wushuang asked with a straight face, "Sister Wan, is not holding a Buddhist staff. Tell me, how did she become a level 3 Supreme Power Master overnight?" Chapter 626. Qin Haodong held the monk's staff in his hand and was a little confused. He didn't expect Nalan Wushuang to suddenly mention this. Nalan Wushuang said, "What? Don't tell me that the improvement of Sister Wan's cultivation has nothing to do with you." Qin Haodong said hesitantly, "Yes, it has something to do with me, but," Nalan Wushuang interrupted him directly and said, "No buts. You can't treat me differently. You have to give me what you gave Sister Wan. I also want to reach the 3rd level of the Supreme Power Realm." This. Qin Haodong hesitated for a moment and said, "This method of improving cultivation is a little special." Nalan Wushuang blushed and lowered her head and said, "I heard it from Sister Wan. I don't care. Anyway, I just want to improve my cultivation." Qin Haodong said, "Wushuang, have you really thought about it?" "Yes." Nalan Wushuang's cheeks had turned into a ripe red apple, and her voice was so low that only she could hear it. Qin Haodong said hesitantly, "Why don't you think about it again? We'll talk about it when we get back to Shanghai." "No, I want it now." Nalan Wushuang didn't know where she got the courage. She looked directly at Qin Haodong and said, "I want to improve my cultivation as soon as possible. I don't want to be your burden all the time. I want to be your woman as soon as possible." Qin Haodong had no reason to refuse her sincere confession and hot feelings. He reached out and held Nalan Wushuang in his arms and kissed her hard. As time went by, the temperature of the two of them was getting higher and higher, as if there was a raging fire burning in their hearts. Qin Haodong took out a sheet and spread it on the ground. Then he lay down with Nalan Wushuang in his arms. This place was not like Shanghai. There was no one to protect them when they were cultivating. For the sake of safety, he chose this place for cultivation. With the protection of the formation, this place was much safer than the Li family's villa. 2 hours later, Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang walked out of the formation hand in hand. At this time, Nalan Wushuang had changed dramatically. Her cultivation had jumped from the 6th level of the covert power to the 6th level of the Supreme Power Realm. In just a few minutes, she had crossed the threshold that many people could not cross in their lives. At the same time, she completed the most important transformation in a woman's life. She looked beautiful and charming, and she had the unique charm of a mature woman. Qin Haodong put away the formation flag. They got in the car and rushed to the Li's villa together. At this time, the Li family's villa was in a mess. Li Meiyu waited for a long time but did not see Qin Haodong. She immediately called Qin Haodong, but he did not answer. She then called Nalan Wushuang, but she still could not get through. She thought that Qin Haodong and Li Meiyu had been killed by Yi Qinzi, so she quickly mobilized all the forces of the Li family to inquire about the news. But after waiting for a long time, not only was there no news of them, but even Yi Qinzi had disappeared without a trace. There was no news at all. In contrast, Li Dongguo was much calmer. He said to Li Meiyu while tasting the tea, "Girl, you don't have to be so anxious. I think although the medical sage is young, he is very steady and methodical. He will definitely be fine. But there's still no news of them. The auction has already ended. Where could they have gone?" While they were talking, Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang walked in hand. Seeing that Qin Haodong was safe and sound, Li Meiyu was finally relieved. She stepped forward and said, "Where have you two been? I can't find you and I can't get through to your phone. I'm so worried." Qin Haodong smiled awkwardly. Of course, he could not tell her that they had sex outside the city. He said, "We just walked around and looked at the night view of Hong Kong. They had come back safely, so it was no longer important where they had gone. I thought you were killed by Yi Qinzi." Li Meiyu came to her senses and asked, "By the way, did you meet Yi Qinzi? I heard that you robbed him of the bronze head of the 12 zodiac animals at the auction and humiliated him. He will definitely make trouble for you." Qin Haodong said, "We met him. He has been following us since we came out of the venue." "He didn't do anything to you, did he?" Although she knew that they were safe and sound, Li Meiyu could not help but feel a little nervous. After all, Yi Qinzi and his disciple were so famous in Hong Kong that they were omnipotent gods in the eyes of many people. Qin Haodong spread out his hands and said, "We're fine." "You saw it." Li Donghua said, "I know something about Yi Qinzi. He has a high cultivation, but he is very narrow-minded. How could he let you two go?" Li Meiyu said, "Yes, did you give him the snakehead sculpture? This snakehead sculpture is a treasure of Wuxia. I was going to take it back and hand it in." Qin Haodong said, "Yi Qinzi really didn't want to let us go, so I sent him to reunite with his younger brother." "What? You killed Yi Qinzi?" Li Donghua was so shocked that the teacup in his hand fell to the ground and broke into pieces. It was no wonder that he was surprised. Although Yi Qinzi and Zhao Yang were brothers, Yi Qinzi's cultivation was much higher than Zhao Yang's. This was also the reason why they were worried about Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong nodded gently and said, "Yes, if I don't kill Yi Qinzi, he will come to me sooner or later. It's better to get rid of him once and for all." "Medical sage, you're really a master." Li Donghua was completely convinced. Master Jia and Yi Qinzi, who were originally supreme in their eyes, had been killed by Qin Haodong so easily. Then his expression became serious again and he said, "But in this way, there is no room for reconciliation between you and Mei Zhanlong. I didn't intend to reconcile with him at first. This old faker is completely a deceiver. He is a prostitute and likes to call himself a master. There is no need for such a person to stay in this world." Qin Haodong said, "I guess it will take a few days for Mei Zhanlong to react. At that time, I will get rid of him and return to Wuxia." Li Donghua said, "Medical sage, I can't help you in the battle between masters like you. If there is anything we can do for you, just let me know. Leave this matter to me. You don't have to worry about it, old master." Qin Haodong was also very satisfied with the Li family. This trip to Hong Kong was not in vain. Not only had his cultivation improved to the middle stage of the Gold Core realm, but he had also obtained the Devil Vanquishing Wand. Li Donghua waved his hand and called Uncle Cheng over. "It's getting late. Hurry up and arrange a room for Medical Sage to rest." Uncle Cheng bowed and said, "Mr. Qin, please come with me." Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang left with Uncle Cheng. Suddenly, he thought of something, but after hesitating for a while, he finally held it back. He wanted to ask Uncle Cheng to arrange 2 rooms for them, but he couldn't say it in front of everyone. He could only hope that Uncle Cheng could think of this. But in fact, he was disappointed. Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang acted like a couple. How could Uncle Cheng let them separate? He directly arranged a luxury suite for them to live in. With the body integration cultivation just now, Qin Haodong did not refuse anymore. The two of them lived in a room together. In Mei Zhanlong's manor, the steward waited for a long time. The auction was over, but there was still no sign of Yi Qinzi. He sent someone out to inquire about the news and learned that Yi Qinzi had a conflict with Qin Haodong at the auction. He thought that Ichinzi must have gone to kill that Wuxia guy and would come back soon. However, there was still no news of Ichinzi until dawn. On the contrary, his subordinates reported that Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang had returned to the Li family safe and sound, which immediately made him have a bad feeling. Mei Zhanlong had only 2 disciples in total. Now Zhao Yang's body was in the back hall and Ichinzi had lost contact with him. Mei Zhanlong could not hold it any longer. He hurried to the room where Mei Zhanlong was doing closed-door cultivation and gently knocked on the door. Mei Zhanlong cultivated magic arts, which were not as strict as martial artists. However, under normal circumstances, no one dared to disturb him. After a long time, a low voice came from the room. "Who is it? Don't you know that I'm in closed-door cultivation?" The steward braced himself and said, "Master, it's me. Something big happened, so I came to disturb you." Mei Zhanlong said, "Come in." The steward answered, pushed the door open and walked in. The room was very empty. There was a futon in the middle of the room, and an old man was sitting on it, cultivating. He was the owner of this manor, Mei Zhanlong, who was known as the #1 master of magic arts in Hong Kong. Mei Zhanlong looked like he was in his 70s or 80s. His beard and hair were all white and he was dressed in a cyan robe. He had a very sage-like demeanor. At this time, he was sitting on the futon with his eyes still closed. He asked in a deep voice, "What's the matter? Tell me." The steward bowed and said respectfully, "Master, something happened to senior brother Ichinzi and senior brother Zhang Liang." After that, he told him what had happened from beginning to end. After hearing this, Mei Zhanlong's eyes suddenly opened. There was a flash of light in his eyes and he said with a murderous look, "Someone dares to hurt my disciple. Who is the other party? Have you found out?" The steward said, "Yes. His name is Qin Haodong. He is famous in Wuxia and has the title of medical sage. Even if the 2 senior brothers did not die in his hands, they were directly related to him." Mei Zhanlong stood up and said in a cold voice, "Where is Zhao Yang's body? Take me to see it. It's in the back hall." After that, the steward turned around and led the way. Mei Zhanlong followed him and the 2 of them went to the back hall together. When he saw Zhao Yang's body, Mei Zhanlong's expression instantly turned cold. He said in a deep voice, his 3 souls and 7 spirits were all burned up, and he didn't even have the chance to reincarnate. What a sinister method. Chapter 627. Although Mei Zhanlong said so, he was shocked in his heart. He had already seen the cause of Zhao Yang's death. He must have used the Roaring Flame soul-refining talisman and then died because of the backlash. Qin Haodong was not afraid of the Roaring Flame soul-refining talisman, but he could even counterattack Zhao Liang. This kind of cultivation made him a little scared. The steward did not speak and listened respectfully. In his opinion, Mei Zhanlong would definitely burst into a thunderous rage and kill Qin Haodong. It was not surprising that even the Li family would be angry with him. However, Mei Zhanlong did not fly into a rage as he thought. He said, "I'll write a letter of challenge now and you can send it to that person." The steward was slightly stunned and then said, "Master, is it necessary to be so troublesome? Why don't you just go to him and kill him?" Mei Zhanlong said, "As the #1 person in Hong Kong, everyone respects me as a master. Naturally, I have to act like a master. Just do as I say." Of course, he would not tell the steward what he was thinking. Qin Haodong's cultivation shocked him a little. First, he made the Roaring Flame soul-refining talisman backfire, and then he killed Ichinzi silently. Even he had to be careful when facing such an opponent. He had to make sufficient preparations in advance. Otherwise, he would fall from the pedestal of the #1 person in Hong Kong after this battle. It took time to prepare. Now that both of his disciples had been killed by Qin Haodong, if he did not do something, he would definitely be laughed at and questioned by others. In order to save his face and win time to prepare, sending a letter of challenge was the best way. Of course, the steward did not think so much. He had worked for Mei Zhanlong for so many years and had long developed a proud and arrogant character. In his eyes, Mei Zhanlong was invincible in the world. When Mei Zhanlong finished writing the letter of challenge, he took it to the Li family's manor. Early the next morning, 20 members of Daddy Security Company that Qin Haodong had transferred from Jiangnan had already flown to Hong Kong and arrived at the Li family's villa. The leader was Zhang Tiniu. His cultivation had reached the half-step Supreme Power realm, which was only a small step away from the Supreme Power realm. The other members of Daddy Security Company behind him had also reached the 6th level of covert power or above. Moreover, these people were originally from the military and later began to practice martial arts. Their abilities in all aspects were extremely outstanding. Such a powerful bodyguard team was enough to protect the head of a country. Thank you for your hard work. Qin Haodong reached out and patted Zhang Tiniu on the shoulder. Zhang Tiniu suddenly felt that the bottleneck of the Supreme Power realm, which had been bothering him for a long time, was instantly broken. The genuine qi in his body was unimpeded, and his momentum suddenly rose. The boss's gentle pat actually helped him break through and reach the 1st level of the Supreme Power realm. Thank you, boss. Zhang Tiniu looked at Qin Haodong with admiration and worship. Qin Haodong nodded slightly. It seemed that after refining the enhanced version of the elixir, these people's realms had improved quite well. He believed that it would not take long for them to cross the threshold of the Supreme Power realm. He introduced Zhang Tiniu and the others to Li Donghua. They were talking in the living room when Uncle Cheng, the butler, suddenly ran in and said in a panic, "Master, Mei Zhanlong's steward is here. He said that he is here to send a letter of challenge." Li Donghua was also a little nervous and looked at Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong said, "Let him in." Uncle Cheng nodded and left. Not long after, he came back with an arrogant manager. After entering the door, the supervisor said arrogantly, "Which one of you is Qin Haodong?" "That's me." The supervisor curled his lips and looked at Qin Haodong. Then, he handed over the letter of challenge in his hand and said, "Boy, this is the letter of challenge from my master." Qin Haodong took the letter of challenge and looked at it. There were not many words on it. It said, 7 days later, at 10 a.m., we will fight to the death on Divine Dragon Island. It was signed by Mei Zhanlong. He threw the letter of challenge aside and said, "Go back and tell Mei Zhanlong that I accept the letter of challenge." The supervisor sneered and said, "Boy, you're not thinking of running away, are you? Let me tell you, if you run away, the Li family will be the first to suffer. You're so uneducated. Didn't Mei Zhanlong teach you how to be a man?" Qin Haodong was completely infuriated by the supervisor's attitude. After entering the door, this guy had been showing off again and again. He waved his hand to Zhang Tiniu and said, "Throw him out." "How dare you? Boy, I'm the supervisor of Master Mei Zhanlong. How dare you disrespect me?" Before he could finish speaking, Zhang Tiniu's fist, which was as big as a casserole, appeared in front of him. The punch made his nostrils bleed and he could no longer say a word. Then, he was picked up like a chicken. As the supervisor of Mei Zhanlong, this guy also had a certain level of cultivation. Originally, he wanted to resist, but he found that in front of Zhang Tiniu, his little ability was like a child's game. It didn't work at all. Zhang Tiniu carried him to the gate and threw him out. The supervisor got up from the ground and wanted to show off his power, but when he saw Zhang Tiniu's fierce eyes, he was so scared that he did not dare to say anything and ran back in disgrace. In the living room, Li Donghua and Li Meiyu also read the letter of challenge. Li Donghua said with some worry, "Little brother medical sage, how is it? Are you confident?" "It's nothing. He's just an old faker. It's just that 7 days is a little long." Qin Haodong did not take this challenge too seriously. He asked, "Where is this Divine Dragon Island?" Li Donghua said, Divine Dragon Island is a small island about 50 or 60 nautical miles away from Hong Kong. It's very desolate and no one goes there. I'll arrange a ship to send you there in 7 days. Qin Haodong asked a few simple questions and then returned to his room. Li Donghua thought that he was going to prepare for the war, so he ordered his family not to disturb him. Of course, he was not going to prepare for the war. 7 days was enough for him to do a lot of things. The most important thing now was to get the bronze head from Sir Owen. If he could get another upper-level spirit stone and improve his cultivation to the 9th level of the supreme power realm, he would be able to kill any strong master, let alone Mei Zhanlong. Qin Haodong turned on his laptop and searched a lot of Picasso's works. He also looked at the ancient paintings of other European celebrities. After that, he found a lot of information and materials. As an expert in counterfeiting, he naturally knew how to make a flawless ancient painting. 2 hours later, he went out with Nalan Wushuang and began to buy a lot of things related to painting. He bought all kinds of painting paper and then got busy in the room. Near dusk, Qin Haodong had imitated 40 paintings of Picasso. These paintings were divided into 4 groups of 10 in a group. He stretched and said to Nalan Wushuang, who was concentrating on cultivating next to him, Wushuang, come and see how my painting is. Nalan Wushuang stopped cultivating and walked to his side. She picked up a painting and glanced at it. Then she spat and said, rogue. Qin Haodong was a little confused. He saw Nalan Wushuang's perfect figure and just had a little thought. How could she be a rogue? He couldn't help but look at the painting in Nalan Wushuang's hand. It was a sketch of a middle-aged woman. She was naked, with plump breasts, slender waist, and mysterious areas. Even the expression on her face could be seen clearly. Qin Haodong said with a smile, this is art. If it is taken out, it can be sold for a lot of money. Nalan Wushuang curled her lips and said, how much can it be sold for? Don't think I don't know that these things only cost a few hundred yuan. That's different. When I first bought them, they were raw materials. Now they are works of art after being processed by me. Picasso's supreme works of art. Nalan Wushuang looked through it a few more times. This group was all sketches of the human body. She threw it aside and picked up another group to look at. This group was painted by children, so she could accept it. The sketch paper processed by Qin Haodong was completely different from the one they had just bought. The whole scroll was dark, and the material of the paper seemed to have changed. If she hadn't bought these things, she would really think that they were sketch paper from the Middle Ages. As for the things in the paintings, she didn't know anything about antiques of Wuxia, let alone Western art. Qin Haodong asked, what do you think of these paintings? Nalan Wushuang put the sketch paper on the table and said with a smile, I think I drew better than this when I was in primary school. Qin Haodong was speechless and said, forget it, it's useless to show it to you. I'd better find an expert to have a look and see if there are any loopholes in my paintings. Although he had absolute confidence in his imitation of ancient paintings, this was the first time he had copied a Western work, and it was related to the bronze head of the 12 zodiac animals. He had to be careful. Thinking of this, he took out his mobile phone and dialed Tian Ye's number. Hello, Mr. Qin. What can I do for you? When the phone was connected, Tian Ye's respectful voice came from the other side. In just half a day, the news that Master Mei Zhanlong had challenged the medical sage of Wuxia had spread throughout Hong Kong. At this moment, he already knew Qin Haodong's identity and heard that this young man had killed Master Jia and Yichenzi in succession. Whether it was his identity as the medical sage or his super cultivation, it was enough to make him admire him from the bottom of his heart. Manager Tian, I want to ask you if you know anything about the appraisal of traditional Chinese paintings, the Western kind. Tian Yi said, I just know a little, but I'm not very proficient. If you need, I have a professional appraiser here. They will give you a satisfactory appraisal. Qin Haodong said, that's great. I have a piece of Picasso's work here. Please bring someone here to appraise it. Mr. Qin, are you sure you're not joking? Although he had heard from Qin Haodong that he had a painting of Picasso, he didn't take it too seriously. He thought that Qin Haodong was just joking. Picasso could be said to be the only person in the history of human art who had seen his own works collected by the Louvre when he was still alive. His reputation could be imagined. When he was alive, all his works had been collected by enthusiasts and his works could hardly be seen on the market. Chapter 628. Qin Haodong said, "Of course it's true. Manager Tian, I don't need to joke with you." Tian Yi realized that he had lost his composure and quickly said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Qin. I was just too shocked. Please forgive me. It doesn't matter. Is it convenient for you to come and appraise it for me now?" "No problem. I'll take the appraiser there now. Please wait a moment." Tian Yi hung up the phone and immediately called the appraiser, Zhang Chaohui. As the largest auction house in Hong Kong, there were more than a dozen appraisers here, and Zhang Chaohui was the top one. He was best at appraising ancient European paintings. "Manager, what can I do for you? It's almost time to get off work. Are you asking me to work overtime?" A young man in his 30s came in. He was Zhang Chaohui. He had a good relationship with Tian Yi, so he didn't hesitate to talk to him. Tian Yi said, "Take your tools and come with me. There's an important collection that needs your appraisal." Zhang Chaohui said, "Can't we wait until tomorrow? It's not easy for me to make an appointment with a beautiful girl today." "Of course we can't wait." Tian Yi pulled him up and walked out. As he walked, he said, "It's the old man's distinguished guest. We have to serve him carefully." They got in the car and drove in the direction of the Li family's villa. "These rich people really don't care about us workers." Zhang Chaohui sat in the passenger seat and asked after venting his dissatisfaction, "What are you going to appraise this time?" "Picasso's painting." "What?" Zhang Chaohui, who was originally lazy, suddenly sat up straight, and then like a deflated ball, he lay back down and said, "How is this possible? Who would sell Picasso's paintings now? I guess this stupid rich man must have been cheated by others. He casually made a painting and said it was painted by Picasso. It was not strange for him to say that." As the chief appraiser of the auction house, he had seen many rich people being cheated by those swindlers over the years. They spent a lot of money and bought a bunch of fake goods. Tian Yi said, "I don't know if it's true or not, so I took you with me. I'm telling you, this is the old man's distinguished guest. You must be careful and respectful." As a professional manager, Tian Yi still had his manners and did not reveal Qin Haodong's identity. Soon, they arrived at the villa of the Li family. Zhang Tiniu led them to Qin Haodong's room. Knowing that there were guests coming, Naylan Wushuang went to the inner room to cultivate. There was only him in the room. "Boss, I've brought the guest." Zhang Tiniu stood behind Qin Haodong respectfully. Tian Yi said, "Mr. Qin, this is Zhang Chaohui, the chief auctioneer of our auction house. He is particularly good at appraising ancient European paintings. Please take a seat." After Qin Haodong asked them to sit down, he reached for a painting on the table. It was the nude sketch that Naylan Wushuang had just seen. "Mr. Zhang, could you please help me identify if this painting is the real one of Picasso?" After that, he handed the nude sketch to Zhang Jiaohui. Since the moment he saw Qin Haodong, Zhang Jiaohui had despised him. He thought that Qin Haodong must be a rich second generation who had been cheated again. In his opinion, Qin Haodong's painting could never be authentic. However, as a professional appraiser, he still had the basic qualities. His expression was very serious. He took out white gloves from his pocket and put them on. He took Qin Haodong's painting and then took out a magnifying glass to look at it. At first, Zhang Jiaohui didn't pay much attention, but the moment he saw the painting, he immediately became serious. He didn't look at what was drawn on the drawing. Instead, he looked at the sketch paper and gently folded it with his hand to feel the hardness and flexibility of the paper. This was the procedure that an excellent appraiser should follow when appraising a piece of art. After checking the material of the sketch paper, Zhang Chaohui's expression became more and more dignified. He had confirmed that the sketch paper in his hand was produced in Europe in the 1940s and 1950s of the last century. He believed that there was no way he could fool his eyes. Now he could be sure that even if these sketches were not Picasso's works, they were copied in the last century. From this point of view, they could also be regarded as ancient paintings. Tianyi looked at them, and his expression also became serious. He had worked with Zhang Zhaohui for many years, and he had already seen some clues from his friend's expression. Now it seemed that the painting Qin Haodong took out was absolutely not ordinary. It was really Picasso's work. Jacqueline, this is Jacqueline. When Zhang Zhaohui turned his eyes to the nude woman in the painting, he immediately let out a scream, attracting everyone's eyes. Hearing the noise outside, Naylan Wushuang was not in the mood to cultivate. She came to the door and eavesdropped. She also wanted to see if these European ancient paintings made by Qin Haodong could still be faked. Zhang Tiniu stood behind Qin Haodong and couldn't help curling his lips. These Hong Kong people were really ignorant. Wasn't it just a naked woman? What was the fuss about? Nowadays, a large number of pornographic films could be found on the internet. Hadn't they seen them? Zhang Tiniu was a layman, but Tianyi still knew a little. After hearing the name, he immediately realized that the woman in the painting was Picasso's last wife. Picasso had countless women in his life, and Jacqueline was his last wife. During the 8 years they were together, although the old man always had mistresses, Jacqueline accepted it. They had been hand in hand for the last period of Picasso's life. Jacqueline created a warm world for Picasso in his old age, and Picasso often found inspiration from her and painted a lot of portraits of her. 13 years after Picasso's death, Jacqueline committed suicide. After her death, Picasso's sketches and oil paintings for her flowed into the auction market, and the value of Picasso's paintings rose during that time. It could be said that it was these paintings related to Jacqueline that helped Picasso's works to reach a higher level. Qin Haodong also didn't know the woman in the painting, and he was not interested in anyone. He just wanted to know if there were any flaws in his ancient paintings. Mr. Zhang Zhaohui, have you got the result of your appraisal? Zhang Zhaohui, who was obsessed with the painting, came to his senses and carefully put down the painting in his hand. He grabbed Qin Haodong's arm and cried excitedly, "I guarantee with my reputation as an appraiser that this painting is absolutely real. It must have been made by Picasso, and it's a portrait of his wife. Dear Mr. Qin, can you tell me how you got this painting?" Naylan Wushuang, who was behind the door, smiled. It seemed that Qin Haodong had succeeded again. Qin Haodong was also very happy. He smiled and said, "I just painted it." Zhang Zhaohui looked embarrassed and said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Qin. I was too excited and offended your privacy." As an excellent appraiser, it was taboo to ask about the origin of the collection. Even in the international art market, the authenticity and origin of private trading objects were never important. The higher the social class, the more attention they paid to personal privacy. Because of this, in Zhang Zhaohui's view, Qin Haodong was mocking him. In any case, he would not realize that this was the truth. Nothing. Qin Haodong took 3 more paintings and said, "Help me identify whether these paintings are real or fake." He imitated Picasso's works and drew 40 pictures. Among them, 10 were human sketches, 10 were children sketches, 10 were still life sketches, and 10 were oil paintings. He took one from each group as a representative and let Zhang Zhaohui appraise it. Zhang Zhaohui showed a look of astonishment at first. Each of Picasso's works was very valuable now. It was great to be lucky enough to collect one. He did not expect that Qin Haodong would take out 4 of them at once. He excitedly received the 3 paintings and began to seriously appraise them. Tianyi also showed a look of astonishment. Yesterday, Qin Haodong said that he had some paintings of Picasso. He did not expect that he really had some, not just one. If he knew that there were 36 such paintings in Qin Haodong's drawer, he wondered if his eyeballs would fall to the ground. Zhang Jiaohui identified them very carefully. After a full 10 minutes, he raised his head and said excitedly, "Mr. Qin, you are amazing. I can assure you that these paintings are the authentic works of Mr. Picasso, and they are very well preserved. There are no flaws at all." Nailan Wushuang, who was behind the door, almost laughed out loud. She thought to herself that these paintings had just been freshly made. It had been less than a few hours, so they were naturally well preserved. After making sure that he had not left any flaws, Qin Haodong also breathed a sigh of relief and said to Tianyi and Tianyi, "You too, I'm not very good at art. Can you help me estimate the value of these paintings?" Tianyi said, "There is no specific price for art. It can only be estimated." About 5 years ago, 7 of Picasso's sketches appeared at an auction. At that time, they were sold for $8 million. Although there are only 4 of your paintings, the advantage is that they have a complete range, including all the types of Picasso's paintings. If they are made into an album, and taking into account the factors of the rise of art in recent years, the value should be about $10 million to $15 million US. So much money? Qin Haodong was shocked by the number. Although he knew that Picasso was very famous, he did not expect his paintings to be so valuable. Of course. Zhang Jiaohui took over the topic and said, "Picasso is a real artistic genius. The 20th century belongs to him. No artist can be as well known as Picasso with a changeable painting style. Although he is a high-yield painter and has created more than 60,000 works in his life, this number is too small compared with the number of people in the world who collect them. When Picasso was alive, his tens of thousands of works had been collected by others, and there were basically no works in circulation on the market. It is precisely because of this that the value of Picasso's paintings is created." Chapter 629. Qin Haodong said, "If I exchange Picasso's paintings with Sir Owen, how many pieces will he accept?" Tianyi said, "Mr. Qin, it seems that you still don't know how influential Picasso's works are in the world. Any of these paintings in your hands will attract collectors all over the world. Although the value of antiques and works of art in Wuxia has risen rapidly in recent years, in the eyes of many collectors, there is no comparison between the two at all. Sir Owen, in particular, has a large number of Wuxia works of art and antiques in his warehouse. What he lacks is a work of art with a strong international influence like Picasso. If you exchange these paintings with him, maybe he will exchange 1 or 2 pieces with you. If you take out all 4 pieces and put them together into an album, then he will definitely give you the bronze head with both hands. Maybe he will also give you some other antiques." "Really? You're not lying to me, are you?" Qin Haodong couldn't believe his ears. In his mind, the sculpted heads of the 12 zodiac animals were priceless treasures. That was why he drew 40 paintings of Picasso in one go, for fear that he would not be able to exchange for more. Tianyi shook his head with a wry smile and said, "Mr. Qin, how could I joke about this kind of thing?" Zhang Jiaohui said, "Mr. Qin, don't be surprised. Maybe you are not familiar with the international art market. Although Wuxia has a long history in civilization, more than 60% of our precious cultural relics have been lost overseas for well-known reasons. This is an extremely large number, which is somewhat beyond people's imagination. But foreign works of art are different. It may take 10 or even hundreds of years for an artistic genius to appear, such as Mozart, Da Vinci, Picasso, Van Gogh and so on. Because of their scarcity, the rarer they are, the greater the value of these works of art. For example, Beethoven's handwritten stave was once sold at a sky-high price at an auction. Because of the difference in quantity, it is very easy to find China's works of art in the international auction market. We can see them anytime and anywhere. But it is very difficult to find the works of Picasso, Van Gogh and others. Once there is news of Picasso's paintings at an auction, it will immediately attract countless collectors from all over the world. Even with Sir Owen's wealth and influence, he doesn't have a single painting of Picasso, which shows how precious it is. Qin Haodong said, "I've long heard that monks from afar can chant scriptures, but I didn't expect works of art to be like this." Tian Yi said, "In fact, it's not that Wuxia antiques are inferior to foreign works of art. It's a matter of quantity. After all, Wuxia has a long history and there are many outstanding talents. Naturally, there are many antiques." Another reason was the problem of people's cognition. Great artists like Picasso and Van Gogh had global influence, and almost everyone knew their names. In the early years, China implemented a policy of seclusion. Paintings and calligraphy were more in line with the aesthetics of the Chinese. It was difficult for Westerners to appreciate and accept it. Therefore, there were many outstanding artists in China, but their influence in the world was not comparable to Van Gogh and Da Vinci. For those collectors, the market value of the goods is not the most important. They value the reputation of the works more. In the eyes of some big collectors, maybe 100 antiques of Wuxia are not as good as one of Picasso's works. Zhang Jiahui said, "In the past few years, the price of Wuxia antiques in the international market was not high. It was only in recent years that some international speculators and auction houses raised the price. But in the eyes of European and American collectors, the value of Wuxia antiques is still not comparable to Picasso's works. Among the 10 most expensive paintings in the world, Picasso's works account for 4, but there is no ancient painting of Wuxia." Zhang Tiniu listened for a long time and was shocked. He couldn't help but say, "She's just a naked woman. Even her skin is drooping. I really don't know what's so good about her." Tian Yi was speechless and said, "Brother, this is called art, okay?" Qin Haodong said, "Thank you for your help." Then he waved his hand to Zhang Tiniu. Zhang Tiniu immediately took out 2 red envelopes that he had prepared long ago and gave them to them. Tian Yi said to Zhang Jiahui, "Mr. Qin, we should help you." "There's no need for this." Qin Haodong said, "Take it. I've wasted so much of your time. It's a small gift." Tian Yi and Zhang Jiahui didn't stand on ceremony and directly accepted the red envelopes. In fact, when they went out for appraisal in the past, they often encountered rich people giving them red envelopes. They went out and got in the car. Zhang Jiahui took out the red envelope and pinched it. It was thin and there didn't seem to be much money in it. He said, "Mr. Qin seems to be too stingy." Tian Yi said, "Don't talk nonsense. Mr. Qin is a distinguished guest of the old master. It's good enough for him to give him a red envelope." Zhang Jiahui curled his lips and said, "What are you afraid of? He can't hear you here. Rich people are so stingy." Then he tore open the red envelope and found that it was not cash, but a check with a face value of 1 million yuan. "My God, he's too generous!" Zhang Jiahui exclaimed loudly. If he hadn't been in the car at this time, he would have jumped up happily. Tian Yi also glanced at the check in his hand. Seeing him lose his composure, he asked curiously, "How much is it?" Zhang Jiahui cried excitedly, 1 million yuan, it's 1 million yuan. I'll be rich when I go out to pick up girls in the future. Tian Yi was also very happy after the surprise. In the past, they often received red envelopes from guests, most of which were thousands of yuan. It was the first time that they had met a rich man like Qin Haodong who gave them 1 million yuan. What he didn't know was that Zhang Jiahui actually took advantage of him. Qin Haodong was most grateful to him. This money was the information fee. If it hadn't been for Tian Yi, Qin Haodong wouldn't have known that Sir Owen had a bronze head sculpture, let alone Sir Owen's preferences. After seeing Tian Yi and Zhang Jiaohui off, Qin Haodong immediately began to prepare. He was going to find Sir Owen and exchange the bronze head sculpture. He couldn't wait any longer. However, after what they had just said, he didn't want to take out all his money. If he took out all 40 paintings of Picasso, it might backfire. After thinking about it, he decided to take 10 paintings to Sir Owen first. Since Naylan Wushuang didn't like those nude sketches very much, he packed them into a canvas bag. Then he borrowed Uncle Cheng from Li Donghua and drove to Sir Owen's home. Uncle Cheng was very familiar with the roads in Hong Kong. They soon arrived at Sir Owen's home, which was an extremely luxurious manor. Unlike the manor of the Li family, the buildings here were basically European style. The whole manor was simple and magnificent. If he hadn't known that he was in Hong Kong, he would have thought that he was in an ancient castle in Europe. There were 4 tall white bodyguards standing at the gate of the manor. Uncle Cheng first went over to tell them his identity and then his purpose of coming. He wanted to see Sir Owen. The head bodyguard said, "I'm sorry, sir. If you don't have an appointment, you can't see Sir Owen, even if you are the butler of the Li family." Well, Uncle Cheng looked at Qin Haodong in embarrassment. He thought that Qin Haodong had already made an appointment with Sir Owen, but he didn't expect that Qin Haodong would suddenly come to him. It was basically difficult for a person like Sir Owen to see anyone without an appointment in advance. Qin Haodong walked to the door, handed over the wrapped scroll in his hand, and said to the head bodyguard, "Please inform me now. I want to exchange some antiques with Sir Owen." The head bodyguard said, "I'm sorry, sir. If you don't have an appointment, Sir Owen won't see you. Give this scroll to Sir Owen. He'll come out to welcome us in person after seeing it." He didn't want to waste too much time at the door, so he directly used mind manipulating. "Okay, Mr. Qin, please wait a moment." Under the surprised gazes of the other bodyguards, the head bodyguard hurried into the manor with the scroll in his hand. In a luxurious living room of the manor, Sir Owen was talking to his butler, Fred. He said with annoyance, "It's been so long. Can't we find Picasso's paintings?" Fred said respectfully, "Sir Owen, there's nothing we can do. I've already talked to more than a dozen well-known auction houses around the world. They all promise to contact us as soon as they have any news about Picasso's paintings, but there's no news yet. It's not surprising. Who would sell Picasso's paintings now? If I have them, I won't sell them." Sir Owen said, "But in a few days, my friend Cantona will come to visit me. You know, Cantona is a big collector. When he sees that I don't even have a painting of Picasso, I'll be very embarrassed." Fred spread out his hands and said helplessly, "My dear sir, I understand your feelings very well, but there's nothing I can do." At this moment, the head bodyguard hurried in with the scroll in his hand. He bowed to Sir Owen and said, "Sir, Uncle Cheng, the butler of the Li family, and a young man have come to visit you. They're at the gate of the manor now." Sir Owen said discontentedly, "Sisse, have you forgotten that I won't see anyone without an appointment?" The head bodyguard said, "Sir, Mr. Qin said that as long as I give you this scroll, you'll go out to welcome him." Sir Owen said with annoyance, "No, I'm in a bad mood now. I don't want to see anything messy unless it's a painting of Picasso." Chapter 630. Fred said, "Well, let me have a look at this painting. After all, we have the most cooperation with the Li family's auction house. Since he was sent by the Li family, we have to show him some respect." Sisse agreed and passed the scroll in his hand to Fred. Fred took the scroll, removed the outer packaging, and spread it on the table. When he opened it halfway, Jacqueline's naked upper body was exposed. As the butler of Sir Owen, Fred was also a knowledgeable person, especially in the field of antiques. Although he had only opened half of the painting, he had already recognized that it was Picasso's wife, Jacqueline. Suddenly, his body felt as if it had been struck by lightning. His whole body began to tremble slightly, and his movements of opening the scroll became more cautious. He opened the whole painting and saw a complete Jacqueline. After confirming that it was Picasso's painting, he shouted excitedly, "Perfect, it's really perfect." Sir Owen poured himself a glass of red wine and was sipping it slowly. After hearing Fred's words, he said with some dissatisfaction, "Dear Fred, it's just a painting. How can you lose your composure like this? There are all kinds of ancient paintings in our treasure room." "No, we really don't have any here." Fred cried excitedly, "Sir, this is Picasso's painting. Look, it's Jacqueline." After hearing Fred's words, Sir Owen immediately put down the wine glass in his hand and said with a look of disbelief, "Fred, are you kidding me? This is not what a gentleman should do." "Sir Owen, how could I joke with you? Look, this is Picasso's wife, Jacqueline." After confirming that Fred was not joking with him, Sir Owen walked over quickly. When he saw the painting in front of him, he became extremely excited. "Oh my God, did my sincerity move God? He actually sent me Picasso's painting." Sir Owen took a white glove from a servant and put it on. Then, he began to carefully examine the painting. A few minutes later, he cried excitedly, "Dear Fred, I'm sure that this is the authentic painting of Picasso. It's really perfect." Although he was not a professional appraiser, he had collected countless antiques and treasures over the years, so he had a certain level of attainment in the appraisal of ancient paintings. Fred said, "Sir, just in case, let's get appraiser Gerard here." "You're right. This is Picasso's painting. We can't be careless." Sir Owen took a deep breath to calm down and said to a servant next to him, "Invite Mr. Gerard here as soon as possible." "Yes, sir." The servant answered and quickly walked out of the living room. A few minutes later, he came in with a blond white man. He was Sir Owen's personal treasure appraiser, Gerard. Although Gerard was Owen's personal appraiser, he had a very high reputation in the field of international antique appraisal. So far, the works he had appraised had never been wrong. After walking into the living room, Gerard saw the excited Sir Owen and Fred. He asked in confusion, "Dear sir, did you find any treasure?" Sir Owen said excitedly, "Dear Gerard, come and have a look. It's Picasso's painting. This is Picasso's painting." Hearing that there was a painting of Picasso, Gerard was also excited. He quickly walked to the table, took out white gloves and a magnifying glass from his pocket, and looked at it carefully. After a full 5 minutes, Sir Owen couldn't help but ask, "Dear Gerard, tell me, is this the real Picasso?" Gerard stood up and said excitedly, "Dear sir, I can swear to God that this is definitely Picasso's masterpiece." Sir Owen cried excitedly, "Great, that's great. I finally have a painting of Picasso." Fred was still relatively calm. He said, "Dear sir, do you forget that this painting doesn't belong to you now? It belongs to Mr. Cheen, who is waiting outside the door." Sir Owen patted his forehead and cried, "God, forgive me. I let the distinguished guest wait outside the door. Dear Fred, let's go out together and invite the most distinguished guest in." Outside the manor, Uncle Cheng said to Cheen Haodong, "Mr. Cheen, Sir Owen is very distinguished. Are you sure that he will meet us after seeing the painting?" "Uncle Cheng, don't worry. I believe that Sir Owen will come out to welcome us soon." According to the information that Cheen Haodong got from Tianyi, Sir Owen was very eager to get a painting of Picasso. He believed that he would definitely come out to welcome them after seeing his painting. While they were talking, the door suddenly opened. Sir Owen hurried out with Fred and Gerard, followed by 4 or 5 servants. Sir Owen came to Cheen Haodong, put one hand on his chest, slightly bowed, and made a standard gentleman's salute. "Dear Mr. Cheen, please forgive me for my neglect of you." Cheen Haodong said, "Sir Owen, nice to meet you. Dear sir, beautiful lady, please come with me." Under the welcome of Sir Owen and a group of servants, Cheen Haodong and Nayland Wushuang walked into the manor together. Uncle Cheng was shocked. He was very clear about Sir Owen's status in Hong Kong. He did not understand what magic Qin Haodong had used to make him come out to welcome them in person. As the butler of the Li family, he naturally knew that it was not appropriate for him to participate in this kind of occasion, so he did not follow them into Sir Owen's manor. Instead, he returned to the car and waited. After entering the living room, Sir Owen warmly invited Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang to take a seat and gave each of them a glass of good red wine. Then he said with a smile, "Dear Qin, your painting is really perfect. I've always been eager to have a painting of Picasso. I want to ask how you can transfer this painting, or in your Wuxia language, it's called reluctantly giving it up." Although Sir Owen was from the empire where the sun never sets, he grew up in Hong Kong. Not only did he speak Chinese very well, but he also knew a lot about Wuxia culture. He even used idioms. Qin Haodong said, "Of course. I've long heard that Sir Owen has collected a lot of Wuxia antiques, so I want to exchange some of Picasso's paintings with you." Sir Owen said, "Mr. Qin, I'm very willing to be friends with you and exchange some of your collections. Do you have a target in mind?" Qin Haodong spread out his hands and said, "I don't know yet, because I don't know what collections Sir Owen has." According to Tianyi, he did not directly tell him the purpose of his visit. "It doesn't matter. I can let you choose. As long as the things are suitable, we can make an exchange that satisfies both of us." Sir Owen said to Fred next to him, "Bring the catalogue of our collections and let Mr. Qin choose." "Okay, sir." Fred turned around and went out. It didn't take long before he came back with a catalogue, which recorded the collections in Sir Owen's treasure house. "Mr. Qin, please have a look." Fred politely handed the catalogue to Qin Haodong. "Thank you." Qin Haodong smiled at Fred, then opened the catalogue and quickly checked it. Sir Owen's collection was indeed very rich. There were almost thousands of pieces, including almost all the antiques from all over the world. The first part of the catalogue was European works of art. It could be seen that Sir Owen valued these collections more. However, Qin Haodong did not care about these things at all. He quickly flipped through the catalogue and found the bronze head of the 12 zodiac animals, which he had been dreaming of, in the last few pages of the catalogue. He suppressed his inner excitement and said, "Sir Owen, I was lucky enough to buy the snake head you auctioned at the auction yesterday. As a Wuxia man, I have special feelings for these bronze heads of the 12 zodiac animals. I want to bring all of them back to Wuxia in my lifetime. Just now, I saw a bronze head of the 12 zodiac animals in your catalogue. I've decided to exchange this painting of Picasso for this chicken head. What do you think?" Sir Owen said, "Dear Qin, as a friend, I should fulfill your wish. This bronze head of the 12 zodiac animals is a treasure of Wuxia. I also like it very much, so I'm a little reluctant to give it up." Qin Haodong smiled slightly. He knew very well that this foreigner was not reluctant to give it up at all. Just as Tianyi had said, the antiques of Wuxia were not very important to him, which could be seen from the ranking of the bronze head of the 12 zodiac animals in the catalogue. The reason why Sir Owen said this was that he was a little dissatisfied with the price he offered. It was true. If Picasso's painting and the bronze head of the 12 zodiac animals were exchanged for Wuxia dollars, a bronze head of the 12 zodiac animals would be worth about 50 million yuan, while this painting of Picasso would be worth at most 10 million yuan. Although the exchange between collectors valued the reputation of the collection more, the difference in value should not be too big. He said, "Sir Owen, I'm very sincere. How many paintings of Picasso do you think you can give up this bronze head of the 12 zodiac animals with? 2 or 3? After he finished speaking, Sir Owen's eyes instantly lit up and he said excitedly, "Dear Qin, do you still have Mr. Picasso's paintings in your hands?" Qin Haodong smiled to show his acquiescence, but he did not say how many paintings of Picasso he still had. This was also a kind of negotiation. Of course, he would not expose his trump card in advance. Sir Owen thought for a moment, stretched out a palm and said, 5. As long as you have 5 sketches of Picasso, I'll exchange this bronze head of the 12 zodiac animals with you. Qin Haodong said, Sir Owen, 5 is too much. You have to know that this is a painting of Picasso. If you can keep it in your treasure house, it will definitely help you become a first-class collector in the world. Although he had 10 of these sketches in his hands and he could draw one in a few minutes, Sir Owen had many treasures in his hands. He did not mind exchanging for some more and taking them back to Wuxia. Chapter 631. Well, as long as you can show me Picasso's works that satisfy me, the sculpted heads of the 12 zodiacs will be yours. Sir Owen hesitated for a moment and then agreed. After all, there were still many antiques in Wuxia like this, so he did not care too much about them. Otherwise, he would not have put the snakehead sculpture up for auction. However, Picasso's paintings were unique. With his strength, he had searched the world for such a long time but found nothing. Today, someone finally came to him, so he naturally wanted to do everything possible to keep it. Qin Haodong was overjoyed and said, That's great, my dear sir. You won't regret your decision. Sir Owen said eagerly, Qin, where are Mr. Picasso's works? I'm very eager to see them now. Qin Haodong took the canvas bag from Nalan Wushuang's hand, opened the zipper, took out the remaining 9 drawings from it, and casually put them on the table. Sir Owen, there are a total of 9 drawings here, all of which were created by Master Picasso. You can choose 2 that you are satisfied with. Everyone was shocked. Sir Owen, Fred, and Gerard's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. These were Picasso's paintings, and there were 10 of them at once. Seeing that Qin Haodong was directly picking up these paintings with his hands, Fred hurriedly cried out, Dear Mr. Qin, you can't do this. These are rare works of art. You can't directly pick them up with your hands. You should wear white gloves, otherwise, it will cause irreparable damage to them. Nalan Wushuang almost laughed out loud when she saw the foreigner stamping his feet anxiously. If Fred knew that Qin Haodong could draw one of these paintings in a minute, she wondered what he would think. But he had to play the whole show. Qin Haodong quickly said, I'm sorry, Mr. Fred. I was a little too excited when I thought that I would soon be able to bring the sculpted heads back to Wuxia. I'll pay attention to this detail in the future. Fred did not say anything. He couldn't care less now. Together with Sir Owen and Gerard, they looked at the 9 sketches. Although these sketches were all black and white, the colors were bright and dark, and the layers were distinct. Using extremely simple strokes, they outlined a scene that would make people go crazy. After more than 10 minutes, the 3 of them finally looked at all the 9 paintings. Sir Owen said excitedly, My God, thank God. I'm so lucky to see Master Picasso's work. Gerard said, That's right. I was very surprised when I saw Mr. Qin take out one painting. Picasso's paintings appear in groups. Qin Haodong said, Sir Owen, have you made up your mind? Which 2 are you going to choose? Sir Owen said, Dear, I like these 9 paintings very much. I really can't choose any of them. Can you exchange them with me? Qin Haodong said with an embarrassed look, But I also like Picasso's works, and I want to keep some for my collection. After hearing what he said, Sir Owen immediately said eagerly, No, dear Qin, you can't do this. These 10 sketches were originally a group. They are the most perfect when they are together. If they are separated, their artistic value will be affected. Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said with a pained look, Well, in that case, I won't separate them. Sir Owen, how do you want to exchange them with me? Hearing that Qin Haodong was willing to exchange with him, Sir Owen immediately smiled and said, Dear Qin, you are my true friend. You can choose 3 more works from my collection and take them away. What do you think? Qin Haodong shook his head and said, Sir Owen, this is a group of 10 Picasso's works. They are not simply piled up together. Their artistic value and economic value will be doubled, so I think your proposal is a little stingy. Sir Owen also knew that Qin Haodong was right. If a sketch of Picasso could be sold for 10 million yuan, then a group of 10 could be sold for 200 million yuan or even more. He thought for a moment and said, Qin, how do you want to exchange them? Qin Haodong said, 7. In addition to the 3 sketches I exchanged with Sir Owen, I still have 7 paintings. I'll exchange each of them with you. Well, Sir Owen said, Dear Qin, I think you're asking too much. In your Oriental words, it's like a lion opening its big mouth. You know, every piece of my collection is of high value. For example, it took me a lot of effort to get that Van Gogh painting into my treasure house. Qin Haodong said, Don't worry, Sir Owen. I'm not interested in your Western works of art. I promise I'll only choose things that belong to the East, or things that belong to Wuxia. I believe you have a lot of such works of art, so you don't mind losing a few. Hearing that Qin Haodong would only choose things that belong to Wuxia, Sir Owen breathed a sigh of relief and said, Well, let's do as you said. In addition to the bronze head, you can choose 7 more works of art from Wuxia. Qin Haodong said, It's a happy decision, but I have one more condition. Thinking that this group of Picasso's paintings would soon be his, Sir Owen was in a good mood. He said with a smile on his face, Dear Qin, please tell me your conditions. As long as I can do it, I will definitely satisfy you. I want to have a look at Mr. Owen's treasure house. I always choose products based on my feelings. I can't choose what I like just by looking at the names on this album. After hesitating for a moment, Sir Owen said, Well, welcome to my treasure house. If Qin Haodong only had one sketch of Picasso, he would not allow a stranger to enter his treasure room. But now that Qin Haodong had a group of 10 Picasso's works, Qin Haodong's identity and status in his heart immediately changed. Sir Owen asked the butler, Fred, to get a bunch of keys and took Qin Haodong and Nailan Wushuang to his treasure house. They walked out of the living room and opened a heavy security door not far away. After entering the door, there was nothing but a wooden staircase leading underground. Qin Haodong followed Sir Owen and walked to the basement. The walls on both sides of the staircase were decorated like the living room. They were resplendent, luxurious, and elegant. There were many murals hanging on the walls. These murals were exuding spiritual qi to some extent. Obviously, they were also valuable antiques. Soon, they walked down the stairs and entered the treasure house built by Sir Owen. The light here was very bright and everything could be seen clearly. Sir Owen did not stop. After taking Qin Haodong through a short corridor, they came to a security door made of pure steel again. Fred took out the key and opened the heavy door. A hot and dry air rushed out, making people feel as if they had come to a desert. Sir Owen said, Dear Qin, this is my treasure house. I have collected all the treasures over the years. Now they are all in front of you. Then he walked in first and turned on the lights on the wall. The originally dim room suddenly became bright. Qin Haodong was shocked by the scene in front of him. This underground treasure house was so spacious that he could not see the end at a glance. He wondered if Sir Owen had hollowed out the whole basement of his villa. How many treasures could he put in such a large treasure house? When he was about to step inside, Sir Owen said, Qin, wait a minute. I have to turn off the anti-theft system first. After that, he operated on a monitor panel at the door for a long time. Then he made a beeping sound and nodded, indicating that Qin Haodong could go in. Sir Owen had spent a lot of effort in security for this treasure house. Every corner of the treasure house was covered with infrared rays, which were as dense as a spider's web. Even a fly flying in would trigger the alarm. After getting permission, Qin Haodong and Nailan Wushuang stepped forward together. This treasure house was so big that they could not see the end at all. There were all kinds of collections everywhere they looked. He was afraid that ordinary museums did not have as many collections as he did. Moreover, Qin Haodong could feel that most of the things here were exuding more or less spiritual qi, and only a few of them were fakes. Even if these fakes were fakes, they were very clever and ordinary people could not see them at all. No wonder Sir Owen's collection had such a high reputation at the auction. Li Donghua said that Sir Owen's wealth was immeasurable. If so many antiques were auctioned, it was really hard to guess how much money they could sell for. After taking a few steps forward, Qin Haodong heard a slight motor sound. He looked in the direction of the sound and found that it was an air dryer in the corner. No wonder the air here was so dry. Basically, there was such a machine rotating every 30 or 40 meters. Sir Owen followed Qin Haodong and said, "Qin, we have to hurry. There are too many things here." Qin Haodong nodded and said, "Don't worry, Sir Owen. I only choose things based on my feelings. I'm very fast." After that, he strode in the treasure house. He did not need to look at the collections on both sides at all. He only needed to sense them with his spirit. There were too many good things in the treasure house, such as the brush washer of the Southern Song dynasty, the vase of the Northern Song dynasty, the colorful vase of the Qin dynasty, and the blue and white porcelain of the Yuan dynasty. If old Master Lu Qigong came here, he would probably go crazy immediately, but Qin Haodong did not care about these things. He wanted to choose something like the magic vanquishing wand. He was very fast. Suddenly, he stopped and looked at the storage shelf on one side. Chapter 632. He saw a sword on the storage shelf next to him. The sword was not very long. The hilt and the scabbard were only about 70 centimeters long. The most eye-catching thing was that the shape of the sword was very beautiful. The whole sword was like a mermaid. The hilt was carved wonderfully. It was the upper body of a long-haired beauty, and the scabbard was the lower body of the mermaid. It was carved with beautiful patterns and inlaid with several red gems. Qin Haodong reached out and took the dagger in his hand. There were 3 traditional Chinese characters engraved on the hilt, Beauty Thorn. Ordinary people would definitely regard this sword as a vase sword, but Qin Haodong felt strong spiritual qi and murderous intent from the sword. It was certain that this sword was not only beautiful but also could kill people. He held the hilt and gently pulled it out. The body of the beauty thorn was exposed in the air, and a strong murderous intent came to his face. "Good, it's a good sword," Qin Haodong praised. In terms of the quality of the sword, this beauty thorn was hundreds of times better than the butterfly sword at the auction. It was not inferior to the Dajijiri Yasutsuna in Yagi Yukaim's hand. Even its appearance was more elegant and beautiful than the butterfly sword. Sir Owen and Fred had been following him. They were quite surprised to see that Qin Haodong was just walking around in the treasure room and did not check any of the collections. At this time, he finally took a sword. They stepped forward and asked, "Mr. Qin, do you like this sword? It's really beautiful." Qin Haodong nodded and said, "That's it. I'll choose 6 more." "Okay, no problem." Sir Owen readily agreed without any distress. He was just an ordinary person and could not see the value of the beauty thorn at all. If it were other supreme power experts, they would definitely regard this sword as a treasure. At this time, Nailan Wushuang, who was looking at antiques, also rushed over. When she saw the beauty thorn in Qin Haodong's hand, she immediately exclaimed, "What a beautiful sword." Qin Haodong gave the beauty thorn to her and said, "It's a gift for you." "Great, such a beautiful sword. I like it so much." Nailan Wushuang immediately took it happily. After that, Qin Haodong walked around the treasure room again. Although the treasure room was very large, he had seen the whole place in less than an hour. Unfortunately, apart from the beauty thorn, there was nothing else that could move him. There wasn't even a godly weapon like the demon vanquishing staff. However, when he thought about it, it made sense. Finding a divine artifact required luck. If it was everywhere, it wouldn't be called a divine artifact. Sir Owen came over and asked nervously, "Dear Qin, is there nothing you like here?" He was afraid that Qin Haodong would take back those paintings if he couldn't find something satisfactory. Qin Haodong seemed to have read his mind. He smiled and said, "Sir Owen, don't worry. I'm a man of integrity. Since I've agreed to exchange with you, I won't go back on my word. But there's really nothing I like here, so I'll leave the rest to my girlfriend." After that, he asked Naylan Wushuang to choose the collection. Since seeing Qin Haodong's magical skill of making ancient paintings, Naylan Wushuang had no interest in the paintings here. She chose 2 pieces of blue and white porcelain from the Yuan dynasty, 2 pieces of porcelain from the Song dynasty, and 2 vases from the Qin dynasty. That was the end of the selection. These things were all fine works. If they were taken to the auction, they could be sold for at least 100 million yuan. They left the treasure room and returned to the living room. The porcelain that Naylan Wushuang chose was sent back to the Li family by Dr. Owen. However, Qin Haodong insisted on taking the chicken head with him. This thing was more important than anything else to him now. If something went wrong on the way, he would not be able to make up for it no matter what. If it weren't for so many people watching, he would have put it into the storage ring. Naylan Wushuang also liked the beauty thorn so much that she took it with her. The exchange was completed. Dr. Owen was very excited. He asked Fred to open a bottle of champagne that he had kept for many years and poured a glass for Qin Haodong and Naylan Wushuang. He said excitedly, "Dear Qin, cheers to our successful cooperation." Qin Haodong clinked glasses with him and then drank up the champagne in the glass. Putting down the glass, he said to Sir Owen, "Sir, I want to ask you for help." "Dear Qin, what can I do for you?" "We're friends now." Qin Haodong said, "Sir Owen, I know you have a lot of friends in the storage industry. I still have some paintings of Picasso. I don't want to exchange for anything else. I just want to exchange for the 12 animal carvings of Wuxia. Can you help me publicize it and let the collectors who have the 12 animal carvings exchange with me? Or you can exchange their carvings for Picasso's paintings." "What? You still have Picasso's paintings?" Sir Owen's eyes widened. He was already very surprised by Picasso's sketches. He did not expect that this Wuxia man still had more. If it weren't for the fact that they were of different races, he would really think that Qin Haodong was Picasso's illegitimate son. Otherwise, how could he have so many paintings of Picasso? Qin Haodong said, "Yes, I still have some, but this time I won't exchange for anything else. I only want the 12 animal carvings." He knew that Sir Owen was very influential in the world of collectors, so he wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to collect as many bronze heads as possible. Sir Owen asked, "Qin, can you tell me how many paintings of Picasso you have?" Qin Haodong said, "Sir, to tell you the truth, I have 3 sets of Picasso's sketches. Today, I want to exchange 1 set with you. In addition, I have a children's album and a still life album. Each set has 10 sketches and 10 oil paintings of Picasso." Fred said in disbelief, "You mean that you still have 30 paintings of Picasso?" Qin Haodong nodded with a smile, "Yes." Sir Owen was stunned for a moment and then he came to his senses. He felt that he was going crazy. He had been looking for a painting of Picasso for years, but he could not find it. Now, there were so many paintings of Picasso. He no longer cared about maintaining his gentlemanly demeanor. He shouted excitedly, "Qin, you must be Picasso's illegitimate son. That must be it." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Don't make such a joke. I'm a pure Wuxia man." After calming down, Sir Owen said, "I do know a lot of big shots in the collection industry. They all have a lot of collections. Maybe they have the 12 animal carvings. But I want to ask, how do you want to exchange with them? If it's not tempting, I'm afraid they won't take it out." Qin Haodong said, well, you can help me advertise a set of Picasso's paintings in exchange for a bronze head sculpture of the 12 animal carvings. Do you think this price is tempting enough? Yes, it's really tempting. Sir Owen was excited again. I regret it now. Why did I take the snake head sculpture of the 12 animal carvings to the auction? It would have been better if I had kept it and exchanged it with you for Picasso's paintings. He did not regret the exchange just now. Although the chicken head sculpture of the 12 animal carvings was only exchanged for 3 paintings of Picasso, it was voluntary on both sides. This was the principle of the antique industry. He said again, Qin, can you use Picasso's paintings to exchange for some other things in my treasure house? This time, I can let you choose 2 treasures of Wuxia for 1 painting. Qin Haodong spread out his hands and said, Sir, there are indeed a lot of good things in your treasure house, but unfortunately, I'm not interested in them. All I want is the bronze head sculpture of the 12 animal carvings. If you can exchange the things in your treasure house with others and then exchange them for my paintings. That's a pity. Sir Owen said, but don't worry, I will definitely spread the news for you. Soon, someone will come to your door to exchange with you. Thank you, sir. Then we won't bother you anymore. After saying goodbye to Sir Owen, Qin Haodong and Nalan Wushuang hurried back to the Li family's villa. When they arrived home, Sir Owen had already sent someone to deliver the collection. Qin Haodong did not care much about these things and put them into the storage ring. After dealing with everything, he made a simple defensive formation in the room and took out the chicken head sculpture. He undid the seal outside and took out the upper-level spirit stone hidden inside. He asked Nalan Wushuang to guard him and then began to absorb the upper-level spirit stone to advance to the late stage of the gold core realm. This time was different from last time. Nalan Wushuang was already at the 6th level of the supreme power realm, so it was enough for her to guard him. Holding the upper-level spirit stone in his palm, Qin Haodong began to operate it slowly. The genuine qi of everlasting green would absorb the spiritual qi emitted by the spirit stone. Nalan Wushuang stood beside him with the beauty thorn in her hand and carefully guarded him. Time passed by minute. An hour later, with a crisp sound, the upper-level spirit stone completely turned into powder. Qin Haodong slowly opened his eyes, but there was a flash of disappointment on his face. Nalan Wushuang asked, how is it? Have you broken through? Qin Haodong shook his head. Compared with before, his gold core was a little more solid and round, but there was still a long way to go before he reached the late stage of the gold core realm. It seemed that if he wanted to break through to the late stage of the gold core realm after he reached the middle stage, the spiritual qi of 1 upper-level spirit stone was not enough. He sighed. The higher his cultivation was, the more spiritual qi he needed. It was not easy to solve this problem on Earth where spiritual qi was scarce. At present, he could only rely on the upper-level spirit stone in the bronze head sculpture. He said, now 1 upper-level spirit stone is not enough for me to break through. I need at least 1 more. Now the most important thing is to find another bronze head sculpture. Nalan Wushuang said, I don't know if Sir Owen helped us spread the news. Is it possible for him to hide the news and then find the bronze head sculpture himself to exchange for the paintings in your hand? Chapter 633. Qin Haodong said, although Sir Owen likes Picasso's paintings very much, his eyes are very clear and he would not do such a dirty thing. Moreover, this kind of thing can't be hidden even if he wants to. We will soon receive feedback on whether he has spread the news or not. While they were talking, Qin Haodong's cell phone on the bedside rang. He picked up the phone and saw that it was Tianyi. When the phone was connected, Tianyi said apologetically, Mr. Qin, I'm sorry to disturb your rest so late. Qin Haodong asked, it doesn't matter. Manager Tian, what can I do for you? Tianyi said excitedly, Mr. Qin, Sir Owen has just spread the news that you have 30 paintings of Picasso to the entire collection world. Do you really have so many works of Picasso? He was shocked when he first heard the news. He thought that it was already amazing that Qin Haodong had 4 paintings in his hands. He did not expect that he had so many works of Picasso. Qin Haodong did not hide it from Tianyi. It's true. I want to exchange them for the sculpted heads of the 12 zodiac animals. Tianyi said, Mr. Qin, it's really not cost-effective to exchange a set of 10 paintings of Picasso for a sculpted head of the 12 zodiac animals. I think you should collect all these paintings. They are more valuable. Qin Haodong said, it's my wish to bring the sculpted heads of the 12 zodiac animals back to Wuxia. Although Picasso's paintings are precious, they do not belong to Wuxia. Well, Mr. Qin, I really admire your character. Qin Haodong said, Manager Tian, you didn't call me so late just to tell me this, did you? Of course not. Tianyi said, you may not know that the news that you have 30 paintings of Picasso has caused a strong earthquake in the collection world. Many people know about it. Qin Haodong said, that's a good thing. That's what I want. Only in this way can those people who have hidden the sculpted heads of the 12 zodiac animals take them out and exchange them with me. Tianyi said, you don't know much about the collection world. It's not as simple as you think. After the news spreads, those big collectors will have 3 reactions. What 3 reactions? Qin Haodong asked with interest. The first possibility is that, as you expected, the collectors who have the sculpted heads of the 12 zodiac animals will immediately come to negotiate with you and exchange the products in your hands. The second reaction is that those who don't have the sculpted heads of the 12 zodiac animals but still want to get their hands on Picasso's works will try their best to find the sculpted heads of the 12 zodiac animals and then exchange them with you. Speaking of this, Tianyi paused and continued, the first 2 are good. The most important is the third one. Some collectors who are eager to get Picasso's works will hire international antique thieves to steal the works in your hands. So I want to remind you that you must take good care of the Picasso painting in your hands, otherwise it will be easy to lose it. Thank you for your reminder. Qin Haodong knew that Tianyi meant well, so he thanked him and said, but don't worry, it's not that easy to steal from me. Seeing that Qin Haodong didn't care much, Tianyi said nervously, Mr. Qin, I know you are a capable man, but you don't know how powerful those antique thieves are. In this society, there is a group of people who specialize in stealing antiques. Even the ancient paintings of the Louvre have been stolen by them. How powerful are these people, so you must be careful. These 30 paintings of Picasso are worth more than billions of yuan. This will definitely make these antique thieves completely crazy. I believe it won't be long before they come to Hong Kong. I see. Thank you for your reminder. Qin Haodong thanked him again and then hung up. He didn't care much about Tianyi's reminder. First of all, there were 2 6th-level Supreme Power Masters here, and Zhang Tiniu and the others were guarding outside. Ordinary thieves would definitely not be able to get in. Second, he didn't care much about these paintings. They had been painted in a few hours. Even if they were lost, he wouldn't feel bad. At most, he would just paint some more. Naylan Wushuang looked at the paintings piled up next to her and said, Haodong, these things are so valuable. Why don't you do any business in the future? Just paint and sell them. No wonder she sighed like this. The paintings painted in just a few hours could be sold for billions of yuan. There was probably no more profitable business in the world than this. Qin Haodong shook his head and said, the real is the real, and the fake is fake. I painted these paintings in exchange for the bronze heads of the 12 zodiac animals. These things were originally stolen from our country, so I don't feel any burden in my heart. If I really sell the fake paintings, it will be a lie. It will leave obstacles in my heart. In the future, when I go through heaven's tribulation, it will lead to inner demons. The loss outweighs the gain. Naylan Wushuang nodded. She just said it casually and didn't care too much. She stepped forward and hugged Qin Haodong's neck and said, "It's a pity. I thought that after you break through to the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm, you would help me improve my cultivation. This feeling of reaping without sowing is really good. Although I can't improve my cultivation, it's good to consolidate it." Qin Haodong picked her up and walked to the big bed. The next day, after a night of double cultivation, both of them were in high spirits. After breakfast, Nalan Wushuang asked, "What are we going to do today?" Qin Haodong said, "I guess those collectors who want to exchange with us will have to wait for a while. Let's take advantage of this time to go to Divine Dragon Island and have a look." Thinking of Tian Ye's phone call last night, he used a small illusion before going out to make those paintings of Picasso look like an alarm clock and a roll of toilet paper look like a painting of Picasso. Then they took the car arranged by Uncle Cheng to the dock and boarded a speedboat. He did not use the crew arranged by Uncle Cheng, but drove the speedboat in the direction of Divine Dragon Island by himself. Divine Dragon Island was not too far from the shore, about 50 or 60 kilometers away. After more than half an hour, they landed on Divine Dragon Island. This island was not big, but it was not small either. When they arrived here, the tide was ebbing. The whole island seemed to be about 10 square kilometers. The name Divine Dragon Island was very imposing. No one knew how it came about, but in fact, it was very desolate. Most of the places on the island were bare, and occasionally a few sparse plants could be seen. Perhaps it was for this reason that the island had been abandoned and had not been developed. It didn't take long for them to walk around the island, but they did not find anything different. Nalan Wushuang was obviously not very satisfied with the environment here. She asked, "Why did Mei Zhanlong choose this place for the final battle? Is there any conspiracy?" Qin Haodong said, "This island is isolated in the sea. Maybe he wants to kill people more conveniently, or maybe he has some secret purposes. Only he knows the truth." Nalan Wushuang said, "Then what should we do? Are you 100% sure?" Qin Haodong said, "I'm sure, but a lion will do its best to catch a rabbit. Since we are here, let's make some preparations." After that, he took out a formation flag from the storage ring and walked quickly on the island, scattering the formation flags in his hand one by one. When he came back after setting up the formation, Nalan Wushuang asked, "What kind of formation is this? Why is there no movement at all? It hasn't been activated yet." "Of course, you can't see any movement or notice anything unusual." Qin Haodong said, "This formation is called the Nine Heavens Thunder Formation. If I hadn't reached the middle stage of Gold Core, I wouldn't have been able to set it up. Even so, I can't let the formation cover the whole island. It can only be within a radius of 1 kilometer from the top of the mountain." Nalan Wushuang said, "Is it very powerful?" "Of course, the Nine Heavens Thunder Formation can use the power of thunder. It's difficult for ordinary people to resist it. I've never seen a formation before. Can I have a look?" Qin Haodong looked around and saw that there was no one around. He raised his hand and shot a spell into the air. Suddenly, the Nine Heavens Thunder Formation was activated. Within a kilometer of the center of the Divine Dragon Island, dark clouds suddenly covered the area and thunder rumbled. It looked like the end of the world. He struck out another incantation gesture, and the formation was closed. The island was once again clear and boundless. Nalan Wushuang cried, "Wow, it's amazing. I want to learn it too." "Forget it. It's not a matter of a day or two to learn the formation." Qin Haodong took her to the yacht and said, "Let's go back. Maybe the person who wants to exchange the 12 animal heads with us will come soon." Soon they returned to the dock, got in the car and rushed to the Li's villa. What Qin Haodong didn't know was that shortly after they left, another boat was heading for the Divine Dragon Island. After returning to the Li's house and getting out of the car, Qin Haodong had a vague feeling that something was wrong, as if someone had been here. He asked Zhang Tinyu, who was guarding in front of the room, did anything happen while I was away? Zhang Tinyu said, boss, nothing happened. Everything is normal. Be careful these days. It's estimated that there will be some thieves visiting. Then Qin Haodong took Nalan Wushuang back to the room. After entering the door, he immediately found that the toilet paper was gone. It was obvious that someone had visited here. He went to remove the illusion of the alarm clock. The paintings of Picasso were as good as before, lying there quietly. Nalan Wushuang exclaimed, these antique thieves are really powerful. They could come to our room in broad daylight without disturbing Zhang Tinyu and the others. Fortunately, you left something behind before you left, or these paintings would have been stolen by them. Qin Haodong nodded and said, it seems that we really have to be careful with these people. Although these paintings are all painted by him, if the news of them being stolen gets out, it will affect others who come to trade for the 12 animal heads. Suddenly, he laughed again and said, I wonder how the thief will feel when he suddenly finds out that what he has stolen is just a roll of toilet paper. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.